22nd Cowboy State Daily Show. The art world is bananas over this slippery piece called Comedian. The fruit duct taped to a wall fetched $6 million at auction recently. A real-life Breaking Bad episode plays out after a college dean is busted as queen of a Mexican drug cartel. The top-tier season ski pass at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort hits a cool $10,000. Oh, but you get breakfast with that. A diligent UPS worker is caught delivering packages to herself. RFK once said the COVID shot was the deadliest vaccine ever made. Barrasso believes Trump's pick for the FDA head will shake things up. The man who scammed drought-desperate Wyoming ranchers on bogus hay deliveries gets a slap on the wrist. A woman accused of stealing a car is pulled over, then steals the cop's car, drives to another residence, and steals a different car. You go, girl.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, November 22nd. I'm Wendy Core, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols takes you deeper into the stories that matter and keeps up with the news, weather, and sports in your part of Wyoming. Just tune in to CowboyStateDaily.com and join the conversation. Frederica Left Hand held a doctorate degree in education. She was part of an outreach program supporting Native American nursing students. Left Hand served as Dean of Admissions at Little Bighorn College on the Crow Indian Reservation. Then she fell into the clutches of a drug cartel. And amid a recent bust of a meth ring in what's now referred to as the Spear Siding case, Left Hand and 26 others were prosecuted. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that her story is just one heartbreaking tale in a larger narrative of how drugs have devastated Native communities.
There are several reasons why the story about Frederica Left Hand is tragic. One, that the community has lost her as a leader. She used to work at the college as a dean of admissions. You have the sheer number of people who receive sentences, 27 in this wave alone. And then you have, on top of it, the name Spear Siding brought into the story, which is a sacred site where they perform a sun dance.
Left Hand's rise and fall as a drug queen pin of the meth ring based in a small community just north of the Wyoming border also reveals details about the role women now play in the hierarchy of reservation crime. When drugs and evidence started vanishing from shipping boxes on their way from Rawlins to the Wyoming State Crime Lab in Cheyenne, Rawlins authorities called the Laramie Police Department to investigate. The Laramie Police originally scrutinized the Rawlins PD and the Carbon County Sheriff's Office. The case soon shifted to a UPS worker in whose house they found electronics, drugs, toys, and other items, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
The Carbon County Sheriff's Office and the Rawlins PD both had boxes with drugs and evidence on their way to the Wyoming State Crime Lab, where the boxes showed up at the crime lab missing everything or nearly everything. And so they're like, oh, we got to get an outside cop here because this starts at the cop shop. So they called in Laramie, and then he's thinking their chains of custody are different, right? How can there be a common thief in law enforcement if there's different chains of custody? So then he's like, okay, where do these packages meet up? That was at the lumber store, where that's also a UPS pickup site.
32-year-old Desiree Martinez faces one count of felony theft and, if convicted, could spend up to 10 years in prison and have to pay $10,000 in fines. Well, even if the University of Wyoming Board of Trustees won't allow concealed handguns on campus, the Wyoming legislature will probably override that decision. That's what Board Chairman Kermit Brown told a crowd mostly opposed to concealed carry Thursday during a meeting of trustees. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines was at the meeting.
Once again, there was a packed house, standing room only of people that came to speak to the trustees. The vast majority of people were against it. However, the president of the Board of Trustees, upon announcing that they were going to postpone the decision at least until tomorrow, he also raised what I think was a really interesting point that, guys, it doesn't matter what we end up doing because in the end, this could very well be decided by the legislature.
A bill to eliminate Wyoming's gun-free zones passed both chambers of the legislature during the 2024 session, but was vetoed by Governor Mark Gordon. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso said he believes Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could bring a fresh perspective to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration if his nomination is approved by the Senate. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated RFK to serve as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, which oversees the FDA. And Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that Barrasso, a doctor himself, is well known for the health reports he's delivered on TV stations across Wyoming for about 40 years.
RFK has got some criticism for some of his conspiracy theories that he's promoted related to vaccines and AIDS and fluoride in water, but he supported Trump's campaign after he dropped out as a presidential candidate himself this summer. And more than anything, Barrasso says it's just time to get maybe a fresh perspective when it comes to running America's health agencies and the FDA.
If confirmed by the Senate, RFK would have authority over the nation's agencies responsible for public health, government-funded health insurance plans, Medicare, and Medicaid services. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, we'll wrap up the week with some pretty decent weather across the Cowboy State today, other than a few snow showers in the far northwest corner of the state, mainly Yellowstone and around Jackson. The rest of the state will be breezy, pretty mild, a lot of 50s and lower 60s, and that'll continue into Saturday. One thing about Saturday, though, it's going to start to get windy again, especially in the south. Folks headed to the Boise State game could expect a windy period of weather down there in the Laramie area. And then we're also going to see on Saturday snow showers developing in the far west and southwest. And by Saturday night into Sunday morning, we could be looking at a little bit of snow along the Interstate 80 corridor, and that'll continue into Monday morning, along with some colder temperatures. And that's going to lead into a much more active weather pattern for Thanksgiving week across the Cowboy State. Travelers are going to want to monitor the weather this weekend and into early next week for what looks to be an active pattern across the western United States, as that big Pacific storm that has been off the west coast for the last several days is finally going to start to move inland.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Open enrollment is here. Discover a range of low-cost plans from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. Shop now to find the best option for you. Online, in town, in touch. We're right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. What's your plan?
When severe drought in 2021 made ranchers in Crook County desperate to secure hay for their cattle before winter, a Kansas man spotted an opportunity and designed a scheme that preyed on stock growers worried they wouldn't have enough cattle feed. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the scam involved hay bought in Nebraska, shipped by a company from Kansas, and caused ranchers in Wyoming and Montana to lose more than $100,000.
A guy named Jory Parks from Kansas had a new trucking company. He was going to pick up the well-priced hay in Nebraska, bring it to ranchers in Wyoming and Montana. But according to prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Billings, he really came into that whole arrangement with an intent to short these customers and to exploit the high price of hay.
Judge Susan Waters spared Parks a prison sentence of up to 20 years so he could pay restitution to his victims. Parks was given the 20 years to make $500 monthly payments against his $103,721 debt. Laramie County Sheriff's deputies arrested 2 women Wednesday after one of them managed to bypass a safety feature on a patrol vehicle and steal it. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that when deputies received word of the stolen patrol pickup, they thought they were looking for just one perpetrator.
There's this car chase and there's a blown tire and the truck comes to a stop and the driver takes off running. But they kind of do a check like, oh, the truck, oh, is anyone else inside it? The person hiding is not a large person, as I understand it. And so they missed her. The person ducked in the truck, gets out, and according to the sheriff's department's account, steals the deputy's SUV. Then she chases after somebody and shows the deputy's gun to that person in order to secure a new car.
After apprehending both suspects, Mandy Miller was booked into the Laramie County Detention Center on charges of driving under the influence of drugs, plus vehicle theft, aggravated robbery, eluding, and a host of other offenses. Tiana Quinn also has multiple charges pending. Well, skiers have been complaining about the cost of season passes for years, and this year is no different. An Epic Pass, which gives you unlimited access to more than 40 ski resorts across North America, Europe, and Australia, jumped from $909 last season to $1,107 this season. Aspen Snowmass in Colorado, one of the nation's most expensive resorts, offers a season premier pass for $3,599. And then there's Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, which this week offered an exclusive luxury season pass for $10,000, according to Cowboy State Daily's Justin George.
Now, it's a luxury pass, and you ask, what do you get with that? Well, you get early access to the mountain, so you can get all your runs in before a lot of people come. You know, people have been talking about the crowds up there. You get access to a lounge. You get private ski storage. You get a continental breakfast, and you get lunch reservations at Trappers, which is the restaurant at the resort.
The season pass for Snowy Range ski area just down the road from Jackson Hole Mountain Resort is $449 for adults. That's less than 5% of the Jackson Hole Pass. But again, the Snowy Range Pass doesn't come with a continental breakfast. And anyone who scoffs at the notion of what's considered modern art got the ultimate wake-up Wednesday when a banana duct taped to a wall sold for $6.2 million at a Sotheby's auction. Titled Comedian, the piece was created by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan, and it wasn't the first time he's sold a banana on a wall for big bucks. 3 previous editions of the single banana attached to a white wall with silver duct tape sold for more than $100,000 each. But Wednesday's sale was different, reports Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi.
He was a cryptocurrency guy, which I think makes a lot of sense when you look at the facts. He just bought a certificate of authenticity that says when he tapes a banana to a white wall with silver duct tape, it can be called comedian, and that is worth $6.2 million. So it wasn't the banana or the tape or the wall that were the valuable asset. It was this certificate of authenticity, which our Wyoming artists found profoundly amusing.
Sculptor Chris Navarro said he sometimes takes a year or more to create some of his lifelike bronze works of art. When a piece that took only a few minutes to create sells for millions of dollars, he sees it as a reflection of the buzz created around it, rather than the piece actually having that monetary value. And that's today's news. For a deeper dive into the people and issues that affect Wyoming, check out The Roundup, conversations with the most interesting people in the Cowboy State. A new episode drops tomorrow when I have a conversation with Deshan Schinkel with Wyoming Senior Olympics. You can find the link on our website, on our YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you'll find it in our free daily email newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
Wyoming is a big state. There are so many stories to tell, and here at Cowboy State Daily, we pride ourselves in bringing those stories to you every day. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. Every day, host Wendy Corr and I talk to the experienced journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily Video News every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
Well, good morning. Here's the morning sunrise for the day this Friday. Nice photo from Robin Reinhardt. Robin was driving to work, looked in the mirror and said, wow, I got to get this photo. This is looking south towards Riverside Encampment area. Beautiful shot, Robin. The sunrise of the day and the sunrise photo from Don Day's weather forecast, Wyoming Range sunrise in Sublette County. That's Bill Thiel who submitted that one. Pretty nice. Here's the Don Day weather forecast today. Most of the state is going to enjoy very mild temps, with the exception of the furthest western points of Wyoming. Sunny, breezy. 56 today in Casper, Lander. You'll be about 44, partly sunny skies. Southwest Wyoming, Evanston, Rock Springs, Kemmer, mostly sunny today with highs in the mid to upper 40s. Western Wyoming, Pinedale, mostly sunny, but struggling to make it to 40. Afton, you should top out near 50 with sunny skies. DuBois, mostly sunny, breezy, upper 40s. Jackson, near 50, mostly sunny today. In the Bighorn Basin, Thermopolis, Cody, Grable, mostly sunny conditions with highs in the low to mid 50s. Buffalo, Sheridan, clouds on the increase, but you'll have a sunny start to the day with highs in the low 50s. Gillette, Newcastle, sunny today with highs in the low 50s. On the Eastern Plains, Torrington, Lusk, Wright, sunny conditions, highs in the upper 50s, maybe 60 in Torrington. Hey, that'll work. Cheyenne, you'll top out around 62 today with plentiful sunshine. Laramie, maybe mid-50s, sunny. Rawlins, Saratoga, Hannah, mostly sunny, maybe a little breezy in Rawlins. Highs in the upper 40s, low 50s. That's a pretty nice day. You can't beat that. But we do have changes on the way, as Don Day mentioned. That's all thanks to the bomb cyclone sitting off the Pacific Northwest coast there, and that's going to send us pulses of trouble beginning tomorrow and all through next week. Currently 31 in Jackson, 22 down in Afton. Shoshone, you're about 29 degrees this morning, 28 in Powell. Newcastle's 36. Laramie, you're 36 as well, and about 47 degrees currently in Casper. Road conditions today, well, nary a thing wrong with the roads. Looking pretty good. A few slippery conditions in the Mountain West area. Otherwise, yeah, really nothing to note on wildroads.com. Looks smooth sailed around the state. Into the Zoom room, this guy's Greg Johnson. Greg, how did I get small again?
AJ?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how I made myself small again.
So I'm just looking at Zoom, so you look fine.
Oh, yeah.
There. Yep, you are. Maybe it's maybe you got an inferiority complex going on.
I got something. What if I did Zoom 3? Yeah, that's not going to work either. Yeah, I don't just struggling to understand that. If I go back to regular me, okay, I'm normal. But if I go to use Zoom, I get small. I don't know why that is. All right, I'm going to try to figure it out. But meanwhile, I love Justin George caught this story. I saw this, and just like someone interviewed in Justin George's story, I'm going to see who that was. I had the same comment. I thought it was fake. I thought it was fake news. This sounds like The Onion. Fake news. A $10,000 season ski pass. I mean, I know it's Jackson, and I'm prepared for numbers like that, but that is whoa.
Yeah, but you get up, or I guess if it's worth it to you to get on the slopes before everybody else does. And their target audience isn't, the local everyday skier, I don't think.
Well, it's hard to say who the target audience is. It was Scott Williams, former Jackson firefighter, that said. I thought it was almost like an Onion article. I thought someone made this up. I mean, here's the thing about Jackson Hole. There's obviously well-heeled billionaires that, 10,000, they lose that much every time they do laundry, falling out of their pants pockets. That's nothing. And 10,000 is within reach of crazy avid skiers who would cherish the idea of fresh tracks. I mean, these guys already work their life schedule, their job, if they even have one, and try to get to the resort first thing before anyone else to get on that first tram, bragging rights, fresh tracks, fresh powder before anybody's touched it. If you wanted to put a price tag on that for most crazy skiers who are not necessarily millionaires, 10 grand, and they would do that. A lot of them. So I don't know who the target audience is, who they're catering to, but if you were catering to the truly affluent in Jackson, you would price those at 100,000. I mean, why sell 100 at 10 grand when you can sell 10 at 100 grand and there'd be less people on the mountain? I mean,
or just sell it to one person for $1 million.
That one dude for $1 million. Yeah, that's where it's going anymore. And it's,
Yeah.
it's the same idea with first class on the airplanes, or I don't know, but
people do pay a lot of money for those passes that let you skip the line at Disneyland.
Oh, you got that right. Absolutely.
Oh, it's probably that same premise.
Yep. Fast track, fresh track, same kind of deal. Yeah, I was.
For that much though, I think someone should actually come ski down the mountain for me too.
Just have it all done. Yeah. I would
just put like a GoPro on their head, and you can put on a VR headset, and that's how you experience going down the mountain.
Yeah, just in case you're in Paris or the French Riviera and you can't be bothered with getting cold,
worth, man.
Yeah, I was joking with somebody the other day about the new Fight Club in Jackson Hole, and you're like, do they really fight in Jackson? I'm like, well, you hire someone to fight. You outsource that. You fight with your platinum card. For that kind of money, you couldn't be bothered to actually get up and go ski early in the morning. You would virtually.
Maybe these are the same guys who buy a $6 million banana.
Well, those are those crypto dudes, which are the new .comers.
Yeah.
Which are, this new breed of these crypto, they got more money than they know what to do with. $6.2 million to buy a piece of art, which is literally a banana taped to a wall. And the insult of insults, the Italian artist who created this took the banana off the wall and ate it in front of the guy who bought it. Wow.
Well, apparently that was part of the experience.
That's what you pay for, huh? That's your continental breakfast, along with this piece of art.
I've been busy creating my own art.
Is that right?
It's cheese stick taped to a paper plate. I only want $1 million for this one though. It's a bargain, I think.
Basement bargain price. We got people
for an extra 50 grand. I will eat the cheese stick in front of you.
Cheese stick taped to plate. Greg Johnson selling. Do we have first bid? 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. Anyone? Because we got 10 grand ski passes, $6.2 million bananas on a wall, and your cheese stick on a plate. I love it. What do you call it? You got a name for this piece?
Well, you called that one comedian. I hadn't thought of a name, so let's just call this ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah. I'd have to agree with that.
Of course, it depends on the type of cheese. You can't just do that with any kind of cheese stick.
Oh.
This is Gouda.
It's wow. Yeah.
So you couldn't do that with just regular cheddar.
I just changed my opening bid then. We're at minimum $1.5 million for smoked Gouda. Yeah.
We spare no expense for the props on this show.
Speaking of cheese, there was Andrew Rossi has the story about this artist who sold for over $6 million a banana duct taped to a wall. There was also an artist going back, a couple decades who made a house of cheese in Powell. Until it began smelling?
Yeah, he had a story about it a while back. Yeah, this guy, he covered the entire house in cheese, and I guess it started getting pretty funky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Smelled pretty bad.
I mean, the purchase price of the art piece is one thing, and then the price to decommission this artwork was probably a whole nother one. Yeah,
That's true. So I guess my effort isn't all that great considering that guy covered a whole house in cheese. I just taped it to a pellet.
Well, I think that adds the urgency of getting the sale here, Greg. You got to buy this thing before it goes bad, before it smells, and we might have something. It's a crazy world. You never know what the next .comer or some crypto dude and other ways of getting rich. I don't understand. You could be an Insta influencer, and somehow I read about these Instagram influencers, and these young ladies, are retiring at age 19 because they've already made $13 million last year. So somebody is going to buy that piece of art.
I don't know.
Hang in there.
Start doing my hair tutorials or something.
Oh yeah, makeup with Andrew. Or makeup with Greg in the morning. Yeah, that could be a new thing. This guy got off lightly, in my opinion. David Madison had this story about the man that scam ranchers. Taking advantage of people when they're down and desperate is dirty, and then not deliver. I mean, there's one thing to price gouge. This is back in 2021 when ranchers in what county was hit real hard? Crook, I think, yeah. Crook County ranchers just devastated by drought, and the price of hay normally maybe $90 a ton was looking like $300 a ton anywhere you looked. So these ranchers took to Facebook and they found someone who promised to bring in hay from Nebraska, and this Kansas shipping trucking company, this dude, he delivered maybe or not, or delivered you half, or never showed up at all. He just ripped people off, and I never got jail time, and he's just got to make restitution, and he has 20 years to do that even. Oh, this bad dude.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
That's naughty.
It's not like showing up and promising to put a roof on their house and they don't. I mean, with the hay they needed to feed these animals, and basically is saying he doesn't give a crap about the people or that these animals are starving. That's pretty low. Taking advantage of that.
I like where your heart is, Greg. It's one thing to rip off humans, but when you shortchange cows, well, you're dastardly. If only the judge had the same idea.
I tell you, we get the most emotional reactions for people who abuse animals.
Oh yeah.
We put in that someone would, tortured their boyfriend or something. With mild interest, but you put in there that they abused a dog, and man, they are. I don't know, saying that's wrong. It's just shows you people like animals more than people a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, this guy's got to pay back some $100,000 or more than that, and he's got 5 years probation and 20 years of making $500 payments a month. I don't know how that's going to help the ranchers immediately, but man, just terrible.
Yeah, it's like this guy's paying them child support or something.
Yeah, another kind of dastardly thing that we don't have too much of in Wyoming, I don't think, maybe in the cities, but not in the small towns, is these porch pirates that will see a package on your front doorstep. And that's why everybody's got Ring and all these camera watchers. But these guys will swipe packages off your porch. Even worse than that, though, what if the delivery person isn't bringing you your package? They're bringing it to their house, opening it up and seeing what's good inside. This UPS woman worker in Rawlins in big trouble.
Yeah. And apparently a lot of it was just cutting open the packages, taking stuff out, and then taping it back up and letting it go. The problem here is when you're cutting open packages that are destined for the state crime lab, that are coming from the police department and the sheriff's office, they notice when stuff's missing out of those packages, and a lot of times that stuff is drugs because they're sending it out there to get tested, or it's different kinds of evidence, and that's not cool. They narrowed it down. They thought, who knows, maybe it's someone with one of the offices, maybe it's someone at the sheriff's office or the police department who are messing with the packages, not putting all the stuff in them. but they found out that that wasn't the case. It was happening allegedly after they dropped them off at UPS to take them.
That's how the whole deal started. Now, obviously, UPS has got its own internal stuff, so they'll know if packages go missing. But Desiree Ann Martinez, 32-year-old out of Rawlins, allegedly being accused of something a little smarter. She didn't just not deliver the package. She would, yes, allegedly cut into them and take what she wanted out of them. So it was first noticed, yes, by these shipments to crime labs where, you know, the cops would get on the phone and said, "Did you receive that 10 pounds of marijuana?" And they'd say, "No, we only got 1 pound. Did you, was the meth in there also?" "No, we didn't see any meth." And oh boy, yeah, the first thing you think of is the evidence guy who's in charge of shipping it. Let's check the cops shop. But it turned out, yeah, this UPS driver was not getting jiggy with the packages, allegedly. Great story from Claire McFarland on that one. Claire also had this classic. I gotta think the Laramie County Sheriff's Office might have to do a little internal investigation as to how one of their cop cars can be stolen. There's a device in cars that doesn't allow you to be able to shift an idling cop car from park into drive, but somehow it didn't function. Somehow cops missed the fact that there was someone in the stolen truck. They pulled over a stolen truck, outruns the driver, but they didn't clear the truck. Every cop show I watch, you go to the truck. Even though the driver runs out, you go to the truck, you say, "Clear!" And then you chase. There was somebody hiding in the truck. Mandy Miller was. And when they all chased the driver, Mandy Miller got in the cop car and stole that one. Drove over to some residence, and with the gun she found in the cop car, stole another car. She's up to 3 now, allegedly, until she was finally apprehended. Wow. Fun times in Laramie County.
It's just it's just a wild story. I mean, it's like I don't know, like a Thelma and Louise thing that they stole a truck, ran from the police, crashed the truck, and then the one was able to get into the cop car, and it's nuts, taking off in their car. Yeah, it's like something you'd see in a movie or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know, when you're under the alleged influence, and I think that was one of the charges of, you know, mind-altering drugs, you do some things. Sometimes I think people think they're in a movie. They think they're actually acting out Grand Theft Auto or some video game. They've been so conditioned. I don't think they realize this is real life, man. You just stole 3 vehicles in the last hour. What else? Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, and one of them a cop.
Yeah, what I'm saying. I mean,
I don't know how they thought they'd get away.
Yeah, this
people do. They run, and maybe they were just excited. Maybe they're trying to get to Jackson to get a $10,000 ski pass or something.
I mean, this is not going to end well, kids. That's that's like the sugar high of crime when you're just, you're all excited about the original crime, and then that builds, and before you know it, you're on this crime spree, but how about the slow erosion of your character, of your moral compass, is what I think happened here. Frederica Left Hand was a college dean, and got sucked into that world of Mexican drug cartel. And next thing you know, she's like queen of the cartel. I've never seen Breaking Bad. Have you? Does it seem like a...
I've seen... I got up to about like the 5th season of it, and then I kind of stopped. But yeah, it's...
similar?
It's like that. It's really... what an interesting story. And what's interesting is how high up on this organizational chart that the feds put her up there, that there's like a couple of cartel guys and her, and that's why David Madison used the term that she was a queen pin.
Yeah, Queen Pin.
There and it's just it's a fascinating story, and yeah, and you talk about those cartels getting in, and they've been there's nobody more creative in trying to find ways to do drugs, to deal drugs, do illegal stuff than those cartels. I mean, they set up pot farms in the middle of the national forest in California. They were doing that when I was there, in like remote areas where you can't get to them. They just, like with a helicopter or something, they just drop these guys in there, and they're there. They're just
Yeah.
there. It's nuts. But yeah, getting onto the reservations, it takes advantage of those communities, and it's good that they got to stop, but it's not a happy story for someone who seemed to have her life together.
Right. Yeah, they look for corruptible people. It is amazing the power that these drug cartels have. I mean, they're bloody violent and shrewd and seem to have a network all over the place. And I don't want to sound like, well, maybe I do want to sound like, I don't want to sound like Nancy Reagan, but just say no, because drugs is wrecking everything. That's why we can't have anything nice in America. It's all the drugs. Was it Nancy Reagan who said just say no?
I think it was.
I want to say it was. Yeah, I think that's pretty sound advice. Cowboy Channel and the Cowgirl Channel just said yes to Teton Ridge's big media operation out of Fort Worth, Texas, purchased those two channels. And what it might mean is just a higher profile for rodeo in the United States. Teton Ridge, a big outfit, and good story from Justin George about that business merger.
You've done some radio stuff for Cowboy Channel, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done some live streaming radio for Wyoming High School Rodeo, which can be found on the Cowboy Channel on demand, Cowboy Channel Plus app. So, yeah, I guess now I sort of have a new boss. Yeah, but it's fun.
And the CEO of Frontier Days, they've got that Daddy of 'em all rodeo, and he said, this will be good for rodeo because it will most likely just elevate the profile a little more. So
yeah,
I know we love it because now anymore there's so much rodeo and stuff out there. If we hear about somebody doing something, most likely there's a video of it out there somewhere that we can find. Even stupid stuff like those guys in the giant balls, the bulls that you wrote about, that story just blew up.
People love when other people get hurt. Yeah. The bull poker, when you just sit at who thought that up? I'm going to sit at a table and pretend to play poker, or just sit at a table, and whoever is the last seated when the bull starts wrecking the joint. What an idea. What? It's crazy as taping a banana on the wall and getting $6 million for it, I guess. It's a crazy world. Greg, don't do that bull poker thing.
I won't.
That won't end well either.
I'm going to do buffalo poker.
Oh.
Yeah.
What else is in the news? Anything fun?
Just getting ready for the weekend and the holiday week next week. It's a extended weekend and stuff, so we're like squirrels. We got to pack away stuff so that we have stuff to put up on those days, because people like to come to us all the time and they expect to see stuff.
Yeah, news never sleeps.
That's pretty much our business model. People expect to see stuff.
Yeah, news never takes a day off, even Thanksgiving. I mean, you're gonna, I hope, enjoy some kind of a Thanksgiving. What do you do on Thanksgiving Day? You do a turkey dinner?
Well, I don't have time to cook a whole lot just because of doing this so much, but I'll go visit family in the Denver area, and we'll hang out, watch some football, play some games. Intermittently be putting up stories and and stuff. So we kind of mix it in there.
You'll get that afternoon nap with Dallas against New York. Giants Cowboys game should be really exciting.
It's gotten to the point. Anytime I sit down in this chair at my house, I'm taking a nap no matter what. Something about the chair.
Yeah.
That even if I'm like excited and I don't want to take a nap, I just, if I sit in that chair, it's happening.
Well, you deserve a little bit of a break. You're working too hard, man. Thanks for these stories.
We love it.
Oh, Wyoming Cowboys, by the way, are going to try Evan Swoboda at tight end. How about that? Former quarterback.
Yeah. Well, they've got it out for him. I mean, Boise State is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Cowboys, they haven't had the best run defense, and with Gentry coming in, that's going to be interesting how they handle that, I think. And to be honest, nobody's really handled it much this year. But
no.
It is fun to see, teams of that caliber come in and test yourself against them. When I played, it was, you don't want to play the scrubs. You want to play the best,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what keeps this Heisman Trophy hopeful from running clear out of the stadium. You're going to have the mascot, the Cowboy Joe horse, some cheerleaders. Everybody's got to be invited to try to tackle this guy. He's unbelievable. Boise State's Genty, who, he's been tearing it up. And Boise State ranked, 12th? This could go bad, but we'll see.
Yeah, but
maybe the Cowboys.
You never know. In college football, stranger things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and of course, my Buffs, they got that huge recruit yesterday, the huge commit.
Who was that? Some high school
QB Julian Lewis committed to CU, which kind of tells you the prime is going to stay. He's staying. He's got, this guy's like the number 2 recruit, top quarterback in the whole nation.
At your CU game, and I gotta say that Prime's kid at quarterback, it's not just name only. He's good.
Good, yeah.
He's
good.
They're
talking about him now being potentially the number 1 pick.
He's got a feel for the pocket, a feel for the pass rush. He's elusive. He's got a good arm. I mean, this guy is for real.
And he's doing it with not a very good offensive line. I mean, he's getting harassed and chased all over the place, and then still producing like that.
Which is a recipe Josh Allen used at Wyoming to parlay into a top pick. Yeah,
I think it worked out pretty well for him too.
He didn't have much around him.
He had some kind of a game, man. He put it to the Chiefs. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I think everybody in Wyoming was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I was psyched about that. Looking forward to the Detroit Lions showdown, which will be a house divided here at my place. The wife is from Michigan, so we won't be talking that Sunday.
So is she Michigan or Michigan State?
She's either. She's state preferably, but she'll do Michigan just as long as it's not Ohio. We don't speak of Ohio State, but she's Spartans, but she'll do Michigan as well.
Okay, well that's cool. That's cool. They've got the big house there.
Yeah, that is a big house. All right, buddy. Have an awesome weekend. I know you're just going to work. I want you to just relax a little, but we're getting into the holiday season where we got to do next week Thanksgiving. It'll be Christmas. It's always tough to keep pushing out news and keep anyone who has a job, it's hard to stay focused that whole month, from Thanksgiving till New Year's. We all kind of like, I sort of want to work, but I really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get through it, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Cool, man. Have a good Friday. Good weekend to you. We'll see you Monday.
You too. Thanks a lot, Jake.
Okay, that's Greg Johnson, Cowboy State Daily managing editor. And okay, it's good to see that I'm on normal camera now. I thought I solved my problem. You have no idea how much I have to do after the show's over. I'm like, I just have to go back to the drawing board with trying to figure out what is going wrong with my studio. One day I'll have an engineer. He'll know all this stuff. Let's dig into the stories. We got a ton of them today. Friday, Cowboy State Daily show. We'll dig in with the first one about the car thief. I love this story about the Laramie County Sheriff's Office chasing down Thelma and Louise, 2 car thieves. And the one Grand Theft Auto didn't end there. There were 2 more by the time we got done. That story coming up next, right after this on the Cowboy State.
All it takes is one visit, cowboystatedaily.com.
Yeah, let's get right to this story. 11 in front of the hour, by the way, in our first hour of Friday's show. And the call came in about 5:13 p.m. Wednesday. Laramie County Sheriff's Office responding to a report of a stolen vehicle. It was a white Ford F-250, South Greeley Highway in Cheyenne. Suspects believed to be, or later found out to be, Tiana Quinn and Mandy Miller, although at the time, police thought they were chasing just one person driving. They believed it was just Mandy Miller. They found the truck, pulled it over. Out jumps Tiana Quinn and makes a run for it. And let me share this photo with you. I'm not sure who's who in this mug shots. Let's see. Mandy. Yeah, I don't know which one's Mandy and which one's Tiana. But this happened a couple of days ago. So, sheriff's deputies pull over the stolen pickup truck, and out jumps Tiana Quinn, makes a run for it. They chase her. They didn't see anyone in the stolen pickup. They believe they were just dealing with one potential criminal. But ducked down and hiding in the truck was Mandy Miller, who, once the cops went chasing after her friend Tiana, jumped into the cop car. Now, these sheriff deputy vehicles, probably like all law enforcement vehicles, even if you leave them unlocked and running, you should not be able to shift into drive and operate them. There's some kind of safety device you need to know about. Apparently, this failed for some reason, according to Laramie County Sheriff Brian Kozak, who talked to Claire McFarland of the Cowboy State Daily. He said deputies didn't see anyone in the car, kept chasing the suspect. Unfortunately, there was a second suspect hiding in the car. And then he said that suspect, who was Mandy Miller, as cops were arresting Tiana Quinn, Miller got into the deputy's patrol car and drove off with it. Kozak said the car isn't supposed to let that happen. When you put a patrol car in park, we have a device on the cars that once it goes into park, you can't put it into drive without unlocking a secret safety device. So somehow that failed to work. Off goes Mandy Miller with the second alleged stolen vehicle of the episode. Miller fled the scene, went to a residence where I don't know if she knew, followed a resident of the Scenic Ridge area. I don't know if she went to a residence of someone she knew or just randomly chose one. We'll have to ask Claire. But anyway, Mandy Miller allegedly found a firearm in the cop car. Go figure. Yeah, it's probably a few of those. Maybe the scatter gun, the shotgun. She goes, finds a resident, and brandishes the weapon and says, "Give me your car." Stole that car, allegedly. And then cops finally caught up with Mandy Miller, Tiana Quinn, both facing numerous charges: drug possession, vehicle theft, aggravated robbery, eluding, and a host of other offenses pending. In this case, authorities booked Quinn into Laramie County, Colorado. Booked Quinn on a Laramie County, Colorado warrant for vehicle theft. She has multiple additional charges pending. All stolen vehicles have been recovered. So is the deputy's weapon. All safe and sound. All suspects locked up. Thanks, Claire, for that story of modern day Thelma and Louise. How about the modern day Breaking Bad? I've never seen this show. I know it's like the most popular streamed show. Every time you see a list of most popular stream shows, this is like number 1 or 2 or 3. It's top 3 every time. Breaking Bad. And I assume it has to do with a college professor kind of dude who he learns how to cook drugs or cook meth, and then he goes into the drug business on the side. That's my gist of what the show is. I watched episode 1 and found it too violent for my taste. Just like real life. But this is kind of a real-life Breaking Bad meth bust on the Crow Reservation. David Madison has the story. Cowboy State Daily. Former Montana College dean was identified last week as the alleged queen pin of a meth ring on the Crow reservations, ties to a Mexican cartel. Unfortunately, Frederica Left Hand took a left turn, a wrong turn into a bad world. She holds a doctorate degree in education. She was part of an outreach program supporting Native American nursing students. She served as the dean of admissions at Little Bighorn College on the Crow Reservation. I know this isn't Yale or Harvard, but it's a college. And she had a well-respected position and somehow was influenced by Mexican drug cartel members, allegedly. And before you know it, she was one of their high-ranking meth queenpins. I don't know if we have to say allegedly on this. She was found guilty, yeah, so maybe I can leave out the allegedly. Left Hand now serving a 24-year sentence in federal prison in Alabama. So goes from a dean at a college to the federal pen. She pleaded guilty to running a multi-state drug scheme from January of 22 through March 23. There's still other fugitives, other people in the cartel allegedly that authorities are looking for. Yeah, you got to cut the head off of this snake. But, yeah, sad story. Hate to see that happen. Here is David Madison's story. Here's the photo. That is the ringleader or unwillingly roped into massive drug conspiracy. Questions remain. Frederica Left Hand serving 24 years federal pen for being one of the top dogs, the kingpin, well, we'll say the queen pin of the meth ring on the Crow Reservation in Montana. That's her in the inset photo. Yeah, sad story, and how far we fall into the clutches of them drugs. We got a busy morning with guests this morning. I don't know how we can top yesterday when we had U.S. Senator John Barrasso, but we'll do our best. We had Cowboy Kevin yesterday, Renee, Ask Abby, Mark Hines. Man, yesterday was all-star guest day. Today we just have little old Andrew Rossi, but he's got a fantastic story you're going to want to read. Sally Ann Shermer will join us in the 8 all comments concerning UW. The girls volleyball team lost a tough one. Oh, they just fell apart. We got to play more Addie Thornton. Outside hitter. I know she's only a freshman. And I'm not saying the other girls aren't getting it done, but the Cowgirls took a 2-set lead. Is that what they're called? Sets? And then the whole thing is a match? My ignorance in volleyball is showing. But they won the first 2 sets. Yeah. And looked like they were on their way. I mean, convincingly won the first 2 sets against, I think it was the Aggies. I mean, this was a done deal. These girls were going to win this one easy. Where did I put this? All right, here we go. Yeah, they're at Utah State on the road. They won the first 2 sets, 25-21, 25-19, and then something happened. And they lost the next 3 to drop the whole ball of wax, the whole ball of match. Cowgirls now fall to 14-12 overall, 6-11, 6 wins, 11 losses in the Mountain West Conference. Despite the hot start against the Aggies, those Cowgirls just fell apart. Dang it. Well, maybe the Cowboys can pick things up on the football field. Big game with 12th-ranked Boise State. That is going to be a tough ask. And a potential Heisman Trophy winner as the running back for the other guys. Can we tackle him? Can we stop Genty? I don't know. Sally Ann Shermer might have a game plan, though. When we talk to her at 8:30, she might know exactly how we're going to get this done. Meanwhile, it's top of the hour and time for news with Wendy Core.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, November 22nd. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. Frederica Left Hand held a doctorate degree in education. She was part of an outreach program supporting Native American nursing students and served as Dean of Admissions at Little Bighorn College on the Crow Indian Reservation. Then, amid a recent bust of a meth ring in what's now referred to as the spear siding case, Left Hand and 26 others were prosecuted. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that her story is just one heartbreaking tale in a larger narrative of how drug cartels have devastated Native communities.
There are several reasons why the story about Frederica Left Hand is tragic. One, that the community has lost the sheer number of people who received sentences, 27 in this wave alone. And then you have, on top of it, the name Spear Siding brought into the story, which is a sacred site where they perform a sun dance.
For many residents of the Crow Reservation, selling drugs is now a normalized way to generate income. When drugs and evidence started vanishing from shipping boxes on their way from Rawlins to the Wyoming State Crime Lab in Cheyenne, Rawlins authorities called the Laramie Police Department to investigate. The case soon shifted to a UPS worker in whose house they found electronics, drugs, toys, and other items, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
They're like, oh, we got to get an outside cop here because this starts at the cop shop. So they called in Laramie, and then he's thinking their chains of custody are different, right? How can there be a common thief in law enforcement if there's different chains of custody? So then he's like, okay, where do these packages meet up? That was at the lumber store, where that's also a UPS pickup site.
32-year-old Desiree Martinez faces one count of felony theft and, if convicted, could spend up to 10 years in prison and have to pay $10,000 in fines. Well, even if the University of Wyoming Board of Trustees won't allow concealed handguns on campus, the Wyoming legislature will probably override that decision. That's what Board Chairman Kermit Brown told a crowd mostly opposed to concealed carry Thursday during a meeting of trustees. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines was at the meeting.
The president of the Board of Trustees raised what I think was a really interesting point that, guys, it doesn't matter what we end up doing because in the end, this could very well be decided by the legislature.
A bill to eliminate Wyoming's gun-free zones passed both chambers of the legislature during the 2024 session, but was vetoed by Governor Mark Gordon. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, 43428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Wyoming Senator John Barrasso said he believes Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could bring a fresh perspective to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration if his nomination is approved by the Senate. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Kennedy to serve as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, which oversees the FDA. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that Barrasso, a doctor, is well known for the health reports he's delivered on TV stations across Wyoming for about 40 years.
RFK has gotten some criticism for some of his conspiracy theories that he's promoted related to vaccines and AIDS and fluoride in water, but he supported Trump's campaign after he dropped out as a presidential candidate himself this summer. I think Barrasso says it's just time to get maybe a fresh perspective when it comes to running America's health agencies and the FDA.
If confirmed by the Senate, RFK would have authority over the nation's agencies responsible for public health, government-funded health insurance plans, Medicare, and Medicaid services. And skiers have been complaining about the cost of season passes for years, and this year is no different. Aspen Snowmass in Colorado's expensive resorts offers a season premier pass for $3,599. But then there's Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, which this week offered an exclusive luxury season pass for $10,000, according to Cowboy State Daily's Justin George.
Now, it's a luxury pass, and you ask, what do you get with that? Well, you get early access to the mountain, you get access to a lounge, you get private ski storage, you get a continental breakfast, and you get lunch reservations at Trappers.
And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
Well, we'll wrap up the week with some pretty decent weather across the Cowboy State today, other than a few snow showers in the far northwest corner of the state, mainly Yellowstone and around Jackson. The rest of the state will be breezy, pretty mild, a lot of 50s and lower 60s, and that'll continue into Saturday. One thing about Saturday, though, it's going to start to get windy again, especially in the south. Folks headed to the Boise State game could expect a windy period of weather down there in the Laramie area. And then we're also going to see on Saturday snow showers developing in the far west and southwest. And by Saturday night into Sunday morning, we could be looking at a little bit of snow along the Interstate 80 corridor, and that'll continue into Monday morning, along with some colder temperatures. And that's going to lead into a much more active weather pattern for Thanksgiving week across the Cowboy State. Travelers are going to want to monitor the weather this weekend and into early next week for what looks to be an active pattern across the western United States, as that big Pacific storm that has been off the west coast for the last several days is finally going to start to move inland.
Daily Morning Show with Jake continues.
Back to the action, back in studio, 6 past the hour, and Senator John Barrasso, I think he mentioned this with us yesterday when we talked to him live. Big thank you again to U.S. Senator John Barrasso, now the number 2 ranking dude in the party. He's the whip. We got to send him a whip. Yeah, Barrasso's got a sense of humor. He was what's the word I want to say? He was rolled with it when I displayed my ignorance of politics. When you become the majority whip, I thought you got to whip with it so you could whip your constituents, you could whip your colleagues when they didn't vote right. Because Kristi Noem's got a flamethrower just in case things get Western in Washington. I think you should be well armed when you go to the Senate floor in D.C. And just in case it goes down, a guy from Wyoming might want to have a whip, especially when the post comes with the title Majority Whip. So Jimmy and Greg and Justin and I, the top tier team at Cowboy State Daily, we're going to have to get our heads together and our money together and send Senator Barrasso a whip encased in glass. And it'll say, it'll just say, in case of emergency, break glass and apply whip to whoever's not voting the right way. That's how I envision the majority whip doing his job. Barrasso said, I think with us yesterday, and also told Leo Wilson that RFK will bring a much-needed shakeup to the FDA. I would say so. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been quite outspoken in the past about his ideas concerning things that would fall under the purview of the Food and Drug Administration. For instance, wasn't really sold on the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, that reminds me. I have a good, what did I do with that? I have this funny David Spade sketch. The COVID vaccine. What the heck did I do? It's on Cowboy State Daily website, so you can watch it there, probably faster than I can find it. It's part of our daily features, jokey video of the day. What's it called? One More for the Road? No, it's called, no, I can't find it in figures. Doggone it, because it'll fit right in with this story. Maybe I could look at, I swear it was called One More for the Road. Daily Darwin? It wouldn't be a Daily Darwin. How about a You Still Here? All these, it's a You Still Here. We got to do this just while I'm thinking of it. I mean, it took so long to find it. We're going to do it. Here's a feature on Cowboy State Daily sharing this video from Chief Nerd, whoever that is on on Twitter or X. Dana Carvey and David Spade doing this little bit to roast Fauci over the whole
I miss
COVID.
I know. Dude, you know what I knew? There was trouble when anyone that came to our country didn't have to get a vaccine. And I go, if you're telling me I can't go to work, but everyone coming in doesn't have to get one, I go,
well, once we found out when Fauci said, okay, I'm sorry, but if you've had 2 boosters and 2 vaccines, you can get and give COVID to another guy who's had 5 vaccines and 4 boosters. What's the difference between a vaccine and a booster? I don't know. It's just more vaccine, but booster sounds better. Anyway, a guy with 25 vaccines would get and give COVID to another guy with 25 vaccines. That's why I'm introducing the daily COVID shot. Every day you get a shot. By the time you get to your car, you got no immunity. But it's a beautiful 39 seconds.
Man, you can only laugh about it. I know some people that took COVID really seriously. I'm not one of them. My own family. I mean, we really divided ourselves when it came down to COVID and what we thought it was. And there was some people that, man, they were first in line for that shot. Just like first in line to get fresh tracks on the ski resort. And there was some people that were like, well, I don't know. And maybe if they had time, they'd go get it. And there was some say, I ain't letting the government stick nothing in my arm. We were all over the map on that one. Well, RFK said the COVID-19 vaccine was, I quote, the deadliest vaccine ever made. Woo! RFK has been critical and suspicious of Big Pharma. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has had some interesting theories on chemicals in the water, the fluoride in public water systems. He's also espoused conspiracy theories like those linking vaccines with autism. And he's got his theory about how people truly contract AIDS. He's bold, as Senator Barrasso would quote. He's a bold choice for a cabinet pick. President-elect Trump made several bold choices, certainly not career politicians, really, outside of Susie Wiles, maybe, who's pretty good at the game, but a lot of the other choices have been mavericks, for sure. Senator Barrasso says RFK will bring much-needed shakeup to the Food and Drug Administration. I'd say so. Barrasso told the Cowboy State Daily, I really do think it would be a good idea to have a fresh set of eyes look at the Food and Drug Administration and how they've done things for a long, long time. Maybe it is time for a shakeup. RFK certainly will bring the shakeup, you would think. But that whole COVID thing, that's funny. We need another booster. I have to leave the show. I need another booster. Yeah, I can only laugh at it. I mean, it is. I don't mean to laugh at it. I know people did lose loved ones over COVID. But man, we shut down the world for that thing, and we continue to see its effects. Try to order certain things. Try to get parts for a car. I mean, we shut down the world for that thing and stop making stuff. But the thing is, we didn't stop buying stuff. There was nothing else to do. We were told to stay home or we'd die if we went outside. How many scary movies are there about that? Don't go outside. There's a scary movie. If you go outside, the birds will peck your eyes out. Birds, right? Is that what the name of it? Kimmy, what's the movie about when the birds kill you? Birds. She's hair blowing her. The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. If you went outside, the birds would peck your eyeballs out. You had to run from your house to the outhouse or your house to the wherever you wanted to go. And there's been lots of movies where you couldn't go outside. Sandra Bullock, if she went outside, had to go out with a blindfold because you couldn't see the bad guys. Bird Box. Any movie with the name Bird in it is scary, apparently. That's what we're learning. There's movies where if you go outside and make too much noise, you got to talk quietly. Krasinski, the sexiest man alive, with his wife. They were both in that movie where you don't let them hear you. Lots of movies where if you went outside, the world would kill you. Well, that's what we were sold, and it was not a movie. It was real life. And the government said, don't go outside. But if you do, stand 6 feet away from the dude in line in front of you. But basically, don't go outside. But you can get on Amazon if you want. In fact, we got to keep the economy going. Get on Amazon. Never mind the fact that nobody was filling the warehouses with all the widgets and doodads we were buying on Amazon. Nobody thought that through. If we all had to stay home, and the only thing we were allowed to do is make purchases with our mouse, click, 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 well, who was going to fill those orders? Well, we got some stuff in the warehouse, and when that runs out, we got nothing. We got no toilet paper after you buy the first few rolls. We got nothing because nobody's making it. Anyway, yeah, that was COVID. Still seeing the effects of that. Can't buy nothing. Couldn't buy. You could buy things until you couldn't buy things because the government said, stay home and buy stuff. Stop going out and making stuff. That's dangerous. COVID. Don Day's going to be joining our Zoom room. Let me pop it open for him. And I swear, if I come up small on the video, it's Friday, and my aggravation level is high. And my tolerance, I got a short fuse on Fridays. There's Don Day in the Zoom room. I don't want to take it out on our weather guy, but I might have to as we pop into the Zoom room, and I'm small again. Don, I'm having technical difficulties yesterday and today, and it's probably the fault of that bomb cyclone, which you said is not. It's kind of a severe deal, but it's not the generational killer that media has made it to be. But it certainly is messing up my studio. I can tell you right now, because somehow I got small in the Zoom room.
Well, you don't look small to me.
I know.
So.
I know.
But you look small on your end.
I look small on my end.
Maybe it's just Mini Jake.
It's Mini Jake. Well, it's just to highlight the importance of you. I'm compared to you, the meteorologist, I guess I am small. Into the Zoom room, Don Day with a forecast. It's finally Friday, Don. We got here. What's happening? You heading to Milwaukee again this weekend?
No, I'm firmly keeping my feet in the state of Wyoming this weekend for a change, which is nice.
Well, plant them firmly because you've cooked up a lot of wind. A feller could blow over in this kind of wind. I mean, I'll go outside in Teton County and I might wake up in Natrona. It is blowing, brother.
Yeah, it is. Those are the winds of change as the seasons change. And this is the time of year. Somebody asked me, well, when's the wind going to quit? And I half seriously said June. We're just in the windy season. Yeah. That's all there is to it. I think you and I have talked about why it's so windy around here, but that big Pacific storm, the storm that, got the bomb cyclone messaging going, we're starting to get underneath the strong winds aloft with that, but for at least today and tomorrow, there's really not a lot going on again. Temperatures are going to be pretty mild. We're going to have the windy areas tomorrow in particular. Tomorrow, the winds are going to start getting going again, a little bit stronger. Anybody headed to the Boise State game in Laramie tomorrow afternoon and evening? Going to be kind of windy down there. But temperatures for November are going to still be pretty mild. But one thing two things I want to bring up, Jake, is if anybody's traveling Saturday night and Sunday, there's going to be a little bit of snow in the far west and the far south. Part of that moisture comes in. So the weekend is going to be kind of one of those where the weekend starts okay, ends a little different. And then we've got another period of weather coming
that is badly timed because I think a lot of Wyoming will have at least some chances of snow Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, I know. And we really have to travel then. I think the last few years I can remember we've been blessed with good weather, so maybe we're paying for it now. But yeah, you got to be careful, especially the early season stuff when people aren't ready quite. Maybe you don't have the snow tires on, or maybe you forgot what it's like to go around that mountain curve. You know, you used to be able to do it at 50. Now you might have to do it at 35. Yeah, you got to be careful out there.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting a big storm per se, but I see enough to be a concern. So certainly Monday morning we'll have some more details, but it looks like parts of the West, and this is a lot of the Intermountain West. So we're talking Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Colorado in particular are the states that I think are going to be most impacted with just enough winter, just enough that you're going to allow some extra time.
It's not peacock weather then, huh? I'm taking care of these 20 peacocks up the road.
No, I did not. I was not aware.
Yeah. Hence the pecked face. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's a ranch nearby where I'm the new caretaker of these peacocks, and they do surprisingly well in Wyoming winter. They have to be cooped up like chickens when it gets super, super, super cold. But, yesterday they were out. They can take it for a certain amount, but you're starting to really put it on the peacocks. They don't like the nights anymore and the wind. And, yeah, they're heading to the coop soon, I think.
I've never met a peacock wrangler before.
Yeah. Now you have. It's not easy. Yeah, it's like, the cat wrangling, that commercial. Yeah, peacocks, they don't do what you tell them. They're tough. They're really hard.
Well, they're peacocks. They think fairly highly of themselves.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, strutting around with their colors right now. They're very difficult to rope, I can tell you that. And, yeah, you can't tell them. Well, right now they lost all the colorful feathers. The boys did. But in the spring, yeah, you can't tell them anything. They think they're the peacock of the walk. All right, buddy.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much. I got to fix the Zoom room. Now I just lost myself altogether. I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to run out of ideas with the whole video Zoom room. But folks are getting the audio product. That's what's most important. One of these days, we're going to be on the radio everywhere, anywhere, always. World domination. That's the game plan. Right now, of course, you can catch the Cowboy State Daily Show on the website, cowboystatedaily.com. You can find it on Facebook Live. We're on X. We're on Vimeo, YouTube, all those deals. If you have the YouTube app, if that's your thing and you're a YouTube person, just find us on YouTube, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show, and watch us there. Or just listen, have it on in the background, be listening all morning. But yeah, I think the plan is to also take the audio product to radio, which will be fine with me because it's the video aspect of this show that drives me bananas. Let's tape one to the wall and earn a paycheck. $6.2 million. Andrew Rossi has this story, and Andrew's going to join us here in a little bit. I'm astounded. As a guy who gets paid to have words, I have no words. Wow. This is art. Let me get a photo of this for you. Or I wonder if I should, before I do that, let me try to fix the Zoom room, because when Andrew comes in, I'm going to see if I can fix this Zoom room. How do we do that? Well, you can listen. Yeah, let's listen to this. It's not going to be the most entertaining radio show of all time, but y'all listen to this while I fix the Zoom room. I'll try. maybe have it fixed. I'm not positive. We'll find out when Andrew gets here. If Andrew gets here, let's hope he does. Here's the photo of this story we're talking about. This I promise, this is real. This is a real news story. It's not The Onion, which I enjoy. It's not, satirical. There's Casper. What's the name of that? There's some Casper thing doing something on Facebook. Casper Planet Casper or something. They also are a satirical website. And it's, it's unfortunate in today's day and age where you can't tell what's news and what's fake news. That happens a lot. And I hate when the Russians hack into our Facebooks and pretend to be news to influence our elections, supposedly, allegedly. But then there's also just fake news from all kinds of, sources. There's also legit mainstream news that puts out news that's practically fake news. But I don't like satirical websites. I mean, sometimes I get a laugh, I get a chuckle when, I read a story like on The Onion or on one of those satirical websites. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But it's also kind of not, because there's too much not real news out there. And all of it adds to a distrust of legit news. So then when it's the boy who cried wolf. It's chicken, the sky is falling. It's the same kind of thing. The more you don't tell the truth, the more, and then when you do tell the truth, no one's going to believe it. So for every, article of The Onion that looks legit and people are sharing it like it's real news, and it just ruins when real news actually comes along, especially when real news is as wacky as anything you could make up, like this story. This is Andrew Rossi's story about this Italian artist. I'm not familiar with Maurizio Catalan, but his latest work is this banana duct taped to a wall. That's it. There, you're looking at it. Now, it's not the first time he's come up with this piece of art. He's done it in the past. In the past, he would get 6 figures for it. Pretty good paycheck. I don't know how you can do better than that. If I'm Maurizio Catalan and I'm making $100,000 every time I pop this banana on the wall, I'm thinking, hey, it's a pretty good gig. It doesn't get any better than this. Until you find even a bigger dupe. You find even the biggest doofus going who wants to shell out not $100,000 for this, but $6.2 million at a Sotheby's auction on Wednesday. Whoa. It's called modern art. Is it really? Andrew Rossi's story about this banana taped to the wall is as wacky as it looks. Yeah. So here's the story. This piece, as it were, is titled Comedian, created by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan. It wasn't the first time he's sold it. He's done it in the past. Silver duct tape, white wall, actual banana. Now, won't the banana go bad after a while? Yes. And one of the first things Catalan found out is this piece it has a limited lifespan before he's got to replace the banana, obviously. 3 previous editions of the single banana attached to a white wall entitled The Comedian sold for more than $100,000 each. But that was nothing compared to Wednesday's auction. Sotheby's dropped the gavel when Justin Sun put up his paddle at the $6.2 million mark. Are you kidding me? The founder of the cryptocurrency platform Tron receive the artwork, but more importantly, a certificate of authenticity, which, by the way, is that's a whole nother show. We could go into hours worth of chat about what is a certificate of authenticity. My limited knowledge of it, if you don't know about it, or if you do, maybe you know way more than I do. But I know a certificate of authenticity was traded not long ago. I don't know that it's as popular as it was, but it was traded similar to Bitcoin. It's essentially something that doesn't exist. We just all agree it exists. You know what I mean? And nothing has monetary value unless we all agree it has monetary value. Does this banana on a wall worth anything? It's worth the strip of duct tape it took to put it up there, and it's worth whatever the banana costs. But that's just the start. What is it worth really to somebody? It's worth $6.2 million to Justin's son, who's got more money than he knows what to do with, apparently. But the certificate of authenticity is similar to the whole crypto Bitcoin in that it's not something you can put your hands on. I know Bitcoin, there's an actual coin you could touch and hold, I think. But in certificate of authenticity, what you're purchasing is the guarantee that the artist really did make this duct tape banana stick to the wall, not some fake. Our own managing editor, Greg Johnson, couldn't go out and do this and claim that hey, that's a Catalan original. No, it's not. He doesn't have their certificate of authenticity. That's worth over $6 million to Justin's son. Think of the good you could have done with that money, Justin. Put it to cancer curing efforts. I don't know. But yeah, you can't tell people what to do with their money. This is America. This is America. If I want to buy a $6 million banana, I'm gonna. As a bonus for Justin's son's money, he got to watch the artist himself eat the banana right in front of him. So there goes the artwork. Goodbye. Not like it was going to keep for very long anyway. Not like Justin's son was going to put this piece up there in the living room of his mansion. And after a while, it would kind of look bad. So for his $6 million plus, he gets the peace of mind of knowing it's a real original Maurizio Catalan piece called Comedian, and he got to watch the artist eat the banana in front of him. Obviously, when you're working with perishable products, creates a whole nother aspect of problems. In the story, Andrew Rossi brings up a 2001 art installation done by Cosimo Cavallero. Does anybody go back that far? It wasn't that long ago, 2001, 23 years ago. That was in Powell, Wyoming. Cavallero, his art installation was covering an abandoned house with 6 tons of pepper jack cheese. After a few weeks, the installation was torn down, but not before developing a infamously bad odor. Oh man, I would hate to be the neighbor. Neighbors always worry about what's next door, right? The value of your property, number one, is influenced by what's next door. So you hate to see something come in next door that might devalue your property. In Archie Bunker's days of All in the Family, it was, when the black family moved in next door. Oh, no. Now the property values have just dropped. The Puerto Ricans are here. The property values have all gone, all shot. Sometimes I've heard people complain about a church moving in next door. Like, we don't want to be near a church or a school. I mean, those seems like good things to have as neighbors. Besides property values, you worry about what your neighbor, the new neighbor moving in, are they going to be loud? Are they going to play their loud music? Are they going to park their junky trailers out front? I don't know about these new neighbors. What if your neighbor was an abandoned house wrapped in 6 tons of pepper jack cheese? Ooh. Keep the windows closed for a few weeks. That was back in 2001 in Powell, Wyoming. That was considered an art installation. Not much different than this banana duct taped to a wall that's considered art. 6.2 million. I still can't get over that. For some people, $6.2 million is just, I guess, not that much. You wouldn't even notice if it was missing. You're willing to just blow that on a piece of fruit. And I'm sure Justin's son would say, well, I'm not an idiot. I would never pay $6 million for a banana when I can just walk down to the grocery store and buy one for 69 cents. I would never pay $6 million for a roll of duct tape when I can get one at the Big R for $3. But the combination of the two, carefully arranged by this Italian master, you're getting into the $6 million range. You got to combine the fruit with the tape. And Maurizio, we all know the kind of work he does. And to top it all off, I got to watch this Italian dude eat the banana. Well, that's worth $6.2 million. What in the world is happening today?
Hi, and welcome to the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network. Thought we'd take a break today from the standings because I had a chance to talk to 8-time world champion, Pro Rodeo Hall of Famer, and a man you'll see on the Cowboy Channel covering the National Finals Rodeo, the legendary Donnie Gay. And today I asked him what he loved most about the rodeo business. His answer when we come back.
Ranchers, it's bull-bine time, and Redland Angus is your headquarters for range cow genetics. Saturday, November 23rd, 176 coming 2-year-old range bulls and 80 range-raised bred heifers right out of the Redland herd sale at Buffalo Livestock Auction, Buffalo, Wyoming. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Northern Livestock Video. The more efficient a cow herd is at converting roughage, the greater the potential for reducing input costs and increasing profitability. For more sale day information, find them on Facebook at Redland Black Angus Ranch.
On a cattle ranch, calves aren't only raised by their mother. They're raised by a community of farmers, ranchers, and veterinarians, committed to giving them the healthiest, most comfortable life possible. Because for cattle farmers, ranchers, and the moms of those baby calves, animal welfare is the top priority. Together, we bring more beef. It's what's for dinner. Funded by beef farmers and ranchers.
You had the best career anybody in history of bull riding has had, and just tell me what you loved the most about the rodeo life when you were living it.
That's a good question, and I've thought about it, and there's a number of answers to that question, but I loved everything about it. I mean, the travel, before I started flying my own airplane, getting on the airlines and working Costa Mesa, California in the afternoon and flying back to Dallas and working Mesquite, Texas that night. There were no limits on how many rodeos you could go to. And, I thought, well, every day I'm not at a rodeo is the day that I wasn't going to win something. So, that was the only cinch that I knew. If you didn't get on, you weren't going to win. So, past that, I thought I had a chance.
You will see the legendary Donnie Gay on the telecast of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo coming up in just a couple of weeks. Download the Rodeo Roadshow podcast wherever and however you get your podcasts. On the Rodeo Roadshow, I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Yeah, as Donnie Gay says, you got to be in it to win it. You can't win the rodeo that you don't enter. You can't complete that 8-second ride on that bull until you get on him. You know, all those kind of things. And Wayne Gretzky, right? You miss 100% of the shots you never take. What was his quote? Oh man, I'm having such a hard time knowing things today. We've had people comment on Facebook telling me every time I'm wrong, which I'm going to get to in a second. We should have that will fill a whole hour of the 4-hour show. All the things I got wrong in the first 3 hours, in the final 60 minutes of the show, we'll do how newspapers do the retractions, do the corrections. Here's what Jake got wrong the first 3 hours of the morning show. That'll be the last 60 minutes. I hear the dinging of the text, which we did get a text. Thank you. Anytime you want to inform me on something when I'm wrong or when I can't think of something, feel free to text 307-999-8255, 307-999-TALK, TALK. Just text me and say, you're thinking of that Wayne Gretzky quote, you don't make 100% of the shots you never take or the shots that miss the net. 100%. I have to ask the Googler. Okay, you missed 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. Similar to what Donnie Gay says, you can't win it unless you're in it, kind of thing. And now I'm completely off track. Let me go back to making corrections. Jill chimed in earlier today when I was talking about Breaking Bad, that story that was similar to Breaking Bad. And I called the dude, Brian, is it Brian Craven? I called him a college professor. He plays a high school chemistry teacher who learns how to cook up meth, I think. Thank you for the correction. Jill. Jason writes in and just has one word, April. I don't know what I was talking about there. Zuby says peacockery. Yes, I'm in the peacockery business. if anyone wants peacocks, by the way, these peacocks are up for sale. Not sale, but we'll give you. I don't own the peacocks, but I have access to them, and I have a trailer. So if anyone wants about 20 peacock, 20 at last count. Now, there is a coyote prowling around. And yesterday, I did see a lot of feathers kind of scattered about, as the Canadians say, about. I saw a lot of feathers about. And I'm a little worried that there may not be 20 anymore, but get them while they're hot. Get them while they're still there. The boys don't look so good. Just to take you through the whole peafowl thing, it's the males that have the colors that fluff out and show you the whole deal. The poof out with all their colorful feathers. And the males are trying to attract the females, which look kind of like a sage hen. I mean, the females don't look, all that impressive. It's the boys that got to do the work in the peacock world. They got to strut their stuff in order to attract the females. And they look fantastic. And you'd be surprised. Peacocks do pretty well in the cold. Peacocks can live in Wyoming. But in the winter, especially the winter we have here, this is not, eastern part of the state. And this is Jackson Hole. And we have days where we don't see zero. Like the high is still got a minus sign in front of it. And that's not peacock weather. And they all group up in their coop. But right now, peacocks out there doing their thing. They're a little chilly. But the peacocks is available for a new home. And considering a banana taped to the wall got $6 million, I'll offer you the deal of the day. 20 peacocks for $1.3 million. Dana Carvey was hilarious. Gary says Dana Carvey was hilarious. Yes, he was. That COVID bit is so funny. I'm glad we can just laugh over it. You know, come on. Jeez, the COVID. All you can do is laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. Dana Carvey was hilarious. And texting in was, I don't have a name. I used to be able to tell who text. I guess it's better to just have you be anonymous. Texting in is, think of how much money we have wasted making banana bread. Yeah. Oh, the waste of it all. To just use a banana. What about in like the old movies? What about like on every Three Stooges short where they used the banana peel to make people slip? I don't even know if they ever ate the banana. You peel a banana and you just throw the peel on the ground, it would make someone slip and fall. Think of the waste. That was a potential $6.2 million banana. And certainly you can't be making banana bread with bananas, thinking of all the money you're losing. All you need is a roll of tape and a piece of fruit. $6.2 million. Sorry you're having a Monday on a Friday. Yes, I am. This is, it's a day that technology has escaped me yet again. I'm pushing the right buttons, but the right things aren't happening. Andrew Rossi never showed up at 7:30. It's 7:49 now. I can only assume that means two things. Andrew doesn't care about his punctuality, and Andrew doesn't watch the show. I can't think of which is more disturbing. Here's Andrew right here talking about, and we'll wrap up this whole banana art piece work. Here's Andrew talking about it, pre-recorded, since he can't be bothered to join us live.
And anyone who scoffs at the notion of what's considered modern art got the ultimate wake-up Wednesday when a banana duct taped to a wall sold for $6.2 million at a Sotheby's auction. Titled Comedian, the piece was created by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan, and it wasn't the first time he's sold a banana on a wall for big bucks. 3 previous editions of the single banana attached to a white wall with silver duct tape sold for more than $100,000 each. But Wednesday's sale was different, reports Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi.
He was a cryptocurrency guy, which I think makes a lot of sense when you look at the facts. He just bought a certificate of authenticity that says when he tapes a banana to a white wall with silver duct tape, it can be called comedian, and that is worth $6.2 million. So it wasn't the banana or the tape or the wall that were the valuable asset. It was this certificate of authenticity, which our Wyoming artists found profoundly amusing.
Sculptor Chris Navarro said he sometimes takes a year or more to create some of his lifelike bronze works of art. When a piece that took only a few minutes to create sells for millions of dollars, he sees it as a reflection of the buzz created around it, rather than the piece actually having that monetary value.
Yeah. Good grief. I need the email address of Justin's son, who was the crypto genius who bought this banana tape to a wall for $6 million. If I could just get his email address, I'd fire him off an email saying, hey, I can offer a certificate of authenticity on a pair of underpants I'm considering throwing away that I thought I was just passing gas, but it turned out to be something worse. And I thought before I put these in the washing machine or throw them out, maybe you would consider this performance art. Sotheby's, will you consider putting this under the gavel? Yeah. You remember there was, it reminds me sort of when there was like a study done, or my wife is texting it. The wife wants to know, can I text you whenever you're wrong? No, because my phone will be dinging all morning. No, you can't. Remember when maybe it was urban folklore, but whenever you get too fancy with art, they would have like a chimpanzee throw paint at a canvas, and they would call that art. And or they would trick people. They would have this monkey in a zoo throw his poop at a canvas, and then they would go try to sell it in San Francisco. Sotheby's would, and of course, the hipsters in the art world would say, that's fascinating. You see what he's doing here is, they wouldn't know that it was just monkey poo on a canvas. They would, they would be coached. They would be told beforehand that this was the work of some great master. That, oh, yes, I can see where he's, it's the way he's used the blank part of the canvas as if to make a commentary on today's youth. Do you smell something funny, by the way? Have my lawyer draw up a check. I must have this. I must hang this in the gallery. And it would be like a monkey art. There's a similar thing for people who think they can taste wine also. How about the blind taste test with wine? People who think they have a palate for wine. And I'm not saying you don't. There are legit, like I've had a $400 bottle of wine, Sea Smoke. If you ever have a chance to find this, it's very rare to find it anymore. Sea Smoke. I think it's called Sea Smoke. Now I got to look that up. Make sure I'm right. It is legit $400 of wine. Sea Smoke Pinot Noir. Yeah. This is the Sea Smoke 10. This is a different version. Yeah, Sea Smoke Southing 10. It was made in 2016. It's really hard to find. If you ever go to a restaurant and they got a bottle of this wine, get it. It's worth $400. It's good. But anyway, on that topic, this doesn't help me make my point, but on that topic, what about when they do the blind test and they have these wine enthusiasts drink, they don't know what they're drinking and they're not told, or they're told that, all of it is like really good wine or something. And of course they have the $1,000 bottle of Bordeaux and they have the wine in a box and it's all presented the same way. So you don't know. And supposedly these wine snobs, some know, but a lot of them, they sip the wine from the box, the $6 wine in a bag. And oh yes, the afterbirth. What do they call it when it's the aftertaste? It's not an afterbirth. It's oh yes, this finishes with a hint of coconut. That's wine in a box. Costs $8. But we're now selling it for $800. I am way off topic from the banana art. I have gone bananas. UW says, here's a rough segue. A new report shows growing UW economic impact on the state of Wyoming. So the state's only university brings money to the state. Duh, of course it does. We love our college. I love the fact that we have just the one 4-year university, I think, right? CW, Central Wyoming College, CWC, is only a 2-year or only a community college. UW is the one legit college, one And, you know, it's our favorite school, despite what Boise State's going to do to us this weekend. That could be messy. Ooh. University of Wyoming's contribution to the state economy has increased significantly over the past decade, according to this study done by University of Wyoming. How convenient. Supporting nearly 14,700 jobs, adding some $720 million in value annually, according to the report generated by the university itself. But I'll accept that. We don't need an outside source for this. I'll accept the fact that the economic footprint of the University of Wyoming is significant. It means a lot to the state financially and in ways beyond money. Yeah. That's a story out of the university, not Cowboy State Daily. Other Cowboy State Daily stories, speaking of the University of Wyoming, Mark Hines has this follow-up. Mark clued us into the fact that UW Board of Trustees was considering concealed carry firearms on campus. Now, why? That's the first thing I wondered was, is it a Wild West shootout? Why are these college kids want to go to class packing? Like, what's going down in Laramie? That there's a sudden need to be well-armed and well-heeled. Well, that's not it at all. What's going on is the Wyoming legislature last year, I say last year, it's technically early this year, last session, attempted to better define for the Wild West the Second Amendment. And the idea was to do away with gun-free zones. If the Second Amendment exists, if you have the right to bear arms, that should be universal, your constitutional right to bear those arms anywhere. I don't know why I'm coughing. Sorry. That's what Wyoming legislators proposed at last session. Right to bear arms is the right to bear. You couldn't be simpler than that. So there should not be any gun-free zones. The bill passed and went to the governor's desk, and the governor said, I'd rather have the gun-free zones now. For instance, I think you cannot bring a gun to, the county commissioner meeting in Natrona. I think you're not allowed to bring a firearm to the town council meeting in Jackson. And you're not allowed to be packing heat on campus at the college. There's places where we have identified as gun-free zones that you probably shouldn't have a gun. Governor Gordon said, I'd rather have those individual places decide for themselves. That's why UW Board of Trustees is considering the matter. But now news from Mark Hines, Cowboy State Daily outdoor reporter, says, well, it may not matter. Chairman board, the Wyoming Board of Trustees, the board chair, Kermit Brown, told people the other day that, well, we might pass this or pass that, but keep in mind it's going to come up again at the 68th legislature. Is that what we're up to? This coming up here in January. And they're going to try to eliminate gun-free zones. Again, this same bill is going to come. And if it passes and if it's not vetoed by Governor Gordon, then firearms will be legit on campus no matter what we decide. So interesting that as UW tries to decide their own policy on firearms, the board chair said, you know what? All of this might not matter because they may pass this thing this time around in the Wyoming legislature. Mark Hines has that story. Read more. It's on the Cowboy State Daily website. Let's get to top of the hour news. It's time for Wendy Core.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around stories from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom for Friday, November 22nd. Well, even if the University of Wyoming Board of Trustees won't allow concealed handguns on campus, the Wyoming legislature will probably override that decision. That's what Board Chairman Kermit Brown told a crowd mostly opposed to concealed carry Thursday during a meeting of trustees. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines was at the meeting.
Once again, there was a packed house, standing room only of people that came to speak to the trustees. The vast majority of people were against it. However, the president of the Board of Trustees, upon announcing that they were going to postpone the decision at least until tomorrow, he also raised what I think was a really interesting point that, guys, it doesn't matter what we end up doing because in the end, this could very well be decided by the legislature.
A bill to eliminate Wyoming's gun-free zones passed both chambers of the legislature during the 2024 session, but was vetoed by Governor Mark Gordon. When severe drought in 2021 made ranchers in Crook County desperate to secure hay for their cattle before winter, a Kansas man spotted an opportunity and designed a scheme that preyed on stock growers worried they wouldn't have enough cattle feed. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the scam involved hay bought in Nebraska, shipped by a company from Kansas, and caused ranchers in Wyoming and Montana to lose more than $100,000.
A guy named Jory Parks from Kansas really came into that whole arrangement with an intent to short these customers and to exploit the high price of hay.
Judge Susan Waters spared Parks a prison sentence of up to 20 years so he could pay restitution to his victims. Parks was given 20 years to make $500 monthly payments against his $103,721 debt. Television programming for and about cowboys, heavy on rodeo, has become big business, with the latest example coming via the acquisition of the Cowboy and Cowgirl cable channels by Teton Ridge, a Fort Worth, Texas-based media company that focuses on Western sports. Tom Hersig, CEO of Cheyenne Frontier Days, told Cowboy State Daily's Justin George that it's a move that could help elevate the profile of rodeo in America.
It means that local rodeos, whether that be the rodeo in Sheridan or the rodeo that goes on with Cheyenne Frontier Days, other events, have a greater chance of getting on things like Fox Sports or FS1, FS2, so bigger mainstream channels.
The annual Cheyenne Frontier Days rodeo gets a lot of airtime on the Cowboy and Cowgirl channels. Teton Ridge's wider reach, however, could bring rodeo sports into even more homes through partnerships with large cable networks. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Laramie County Sheriff's deputies arrested 2 women Wednesday after one of them managed to bypass a safety feature on a patrol vehicle and steal it. Cowboy State Daily's Clara McFarland reports that when deputies received word of the stolen patrol pickup, they thought they were looking for just one perpetrator.
There's this car chase and there's a blown tire and the truck comes to a stop and the driver takes off running. But they kind of do a check like, oh, the truck, oh, is anyone else inside it? The person hiding is not a large person, as I understand it. And so they missed her. The person ducked in the truck, gets out and steals the deputy's SUV. Then she chases after somebody and shows the deputy's gun to that person in order to secure a new car.
After being apprehended, Mandy Miller and Tiana Quinn are facing multiple charges. And anyone who scoffs at the notion of what's considered modern art got the ultimate wake-up Wednesday when a banana duct taped to a wall sold for $6.2 million at a Sotheby's auction. Titled Comedian, the piece was created by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan, and it wasn't the first time he's sold a banana on a wall for big bucks. But Wednesday's sale was different, reports Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi.
He just bought a certificate of authenticity that says when he tapes a banana to a white wall with silver duct tape, it can be called Comedian, and that is worth $6.2 million.
Sculptor Chris Navarro said that when a piece that took only a few minutes to create sells for millions of dollars, he sees it as a reflection of the buzz created around it, rather than the piece actually having that monetary value. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. And in the news, this guy, man. Dude, you're a bad dude. I don't know what else to say. You're a bad guy. Despicable. Let me get this photo shared. This guy right there. And this is not even alleged. I'm not going to sugarcoat this with anything. You, dude, are a bad dude. Jory Parks sometimes goes around known as JD. Yeah, JD's a scammer. It's not alleged. He admitted to scamming. In one instance, he promised 190 tons of hay, took the payment for hay from a Montana rancher. This goes back to 2021 when much of Wyoming and Montana was heavily affected by drought. Ranchers were worried about their ability to grow hay and feed cattle, especially over the winter. Hay was going for outrageous prices, like normally $90 a ton. You couldn't find hay for under $300 a ton. Ranchers were desperate, and they were vulnerable. And along comes this Kansas dude, and on Facebook, presents himself as this trucking company that can get you hay from a known facility in Nebraska, and he'll get it trucked to you, and the price was too good to believe. Oh, be careful when the price is too good to believe. If hay is going $300 a ton and JD says he can get it for you for, something significantly less, be careful. Hart Cross Ranch Trucking Company, which is now defunct. In fact, it may never have existed, is the outfit that Jory Parks owned. And he said he was going to truck this hay to Montana ranchers, Wyoming ranchers in Crook County. One Montana rancher spent, I'm trying to, I had the, our story from David Madison, by the way, is the one I'm reading, but I also found an actual federal. What did I find? I don't even remember now. Let me look at my. I got to pull that back up. District of Montana. Here's the actual United States Attorney's Office. Here's the AG of Montana. Press release going back July 2024. This whole thing got cooked up in 2021 during a time of hay shortage, tremendous hay shortage in Montana and Wyoming. Jory Parks, 43-year-old of Logan, Kansas, pleaded guilty. He was facing a max of 20 years in prison. That sounds good to me. And $250,000 in fines. Better to pay restitution than fine. The fine goes to, I don't even know who the fine would go to. Better to pay restitution. But anyway, or better yet, put him in jail. Put him in prison. Allegedly. I better get into the disclaimer room before we get in trouble.
The views and opinions expressed on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show are solely those of its host and do not necessarily represent those of Cowboy State Daily's reporters, editorial staff, or ownership.
David Madison wrote this story for the Cowboy State Daily. David Madison has no opinion on how long Jory Parks should be locked up. I do. I think the maximum of 20 years would do pretty good. He'll be 60-something when he gets out, and he won't do any scamming while he's in prison. This scam, just horrendous. Preying on desperate ranchers who work for a living. JD would rather scam for a living. In one Montana business, one Montana ranch, a couple signed a contract with J.D. Parks to buy 190 tons of hay for $43,000. What does that come out to a ton? Where's my calculator? Let's figure that out, because if hay is going for upwards of $300 a ton, oh, that's outrageous. By the way, if you're not in the business or not of a Western mind, $300 a ton is stupid. That's what it was like in 2021. I remember it was not a time to be looking for hay. Everybody was desperate. All right, I got my calculator. $43,300 divided by tons. How many tons did I say? 190. Meanwhile, everyone at home has already figured this out. Like, Jake, yourself, okay, $227 a ton, which is still, pretty high. I mean, $100 a ton should have been the going rate back in 2021. And he's offering twice that, more than twice that. But it would have been worse. I mean, you just couldn't find hay. And to even find it, a rancher had to feel some sense of relief. So this couple in Montana sends half the amount, half of $43,000, $21,650 as down payment to Hart Cross Ranch. There's no such trucking company, apparently. Parks deposited that into a business account bank in Colorado. 3 weeks later, he delivered the first shipment of 23 tons. Now, he did make good on some. He delivered 23 tons of the 190 tons, and that's all this couple got. Their money gone. He scammed them. He did similar with Wyoming ranchers in Crook County and just ripped people off. Took advantage of the fact that ranchers were looking at their livestock dropping dead that winter if they couldn't get them hay. Here's David Madison with a story for Cowboy State Daily.
When severe drought in 2021 made ranchers in Crook County desperate to secure hay for their cattle before winter, a Kansas man spotted an opportunity and designed a scheme that preyed on stock growers worried they wouldn't have enough cattle feed. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the scam involved hay bought in Nebraska, shipped by a company from Kansas, and caused ranchers in Wyoming and Montana to lose more than $100,000.
A guy named Jory Parks from Kansas had a new trucking company. He was going to pick up the well-priced hay in Nebraska, bring it to ranchers in Wyoming and Montana. But according to prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Billings, he really came into that whole arrangement with an intent to short these customers and to exploit the high price of hay.
Judge Susan Waters spared Parks a prison sentence of up to 20 years so he could pay restitution to his victims. Parks was given the 20 years to make $500 monthly payments against his $103,721 debt.
Too soft, Judge Waters. Judge Susan Waters, too soft on this dude. Should have got jail time. I don't know if we'll ever get the money out of him. He's got 20 years to pay back what he owes. $500 a month? Geez, people's car payments is twice that. That's not going to make good on what J.D. Parks did wrong. Too soft, Judge Waters. Should have dropped the hammer on this dude. Allegedly. Well, I don't have to say that. He did plead guilty. Assistant U.S. Attorney Benjamin Hargrove wrote in a pre-sentencing memo, he took advantage of their need for hay. He told lies, and he stole their money over and over again. There is no hell too hot for J.D. Parks. But he got 5 years probation and $500 a month. That's it. 8:17 past the hour. Sally Ann Shermer is going to be joining us in a bit. We'll talk about Cowboy football up against tough task. We've got Boise State, which if you don't follow college football, they're pretty darn good. They're ranked nationally. They're, I don't remember the last time Wyoming's beaten Boise State. They're always pretty good. They're very good this year, and they got a running back who's in one of the top prospects to get the Heisman Trophy. So, in other words, he's one of the best players in college football, period. And he can run. And, Wyoming has struggled this year with teams that have someone who can run. Wyoming has struggled with teams that have someone who can't run. I mean, the Cowboys defense, they just can't tackle people. If this guy gets past the defensive line, he's gone. I mean, it's going to be, he might put up monster numbers. Ginty, Heisman hopeful. He's all that. I mean, nobody's been able to tackle this guy all year. And then going up against a team that hasn't been able to tackle anybody all year. Oh, you see the writing on the wall. But maybe Sally Ann Shermer's got a way we can win this. Sally Ann's going to cook up the game plan. She's going to get down to the X's and O's, and I wish we could just bring her right into the locker room with the Cowboys. And everybody listen to Sally Ann. Here's how we're going to win this game, and she can just draw it up. She'll do it for us, and she'll do it for Coach Jay Sawvell in just a minute when we talk to her. Maybe she's got a game plan. I hope. Maybe. Meanwhile, we'll go to this story from Claire McFarland. Very interesting story. UPS worker has been accused of stealing drugs and other crime evidence out of and other UPS packages. It's the worst nightmare, I'm sure, for UPS. Can you imagine? I'm a big fan of the brown. Speaking of the brown and gold, that's the Cowboys, brown and gold. The brown and gold of UPS. I mean, who doesn't love UPS? Because basically they're like Santa Claus for all of us. We all order stuff on Amazon, and UPS brings it for free, for the most part, right? If you're on Prime. I mean, who does it? We love to kill the messenger if it doesn't get here. But who doesn't love their local UPS driver? They're always bringing you stuff. Santa Claus. You don't kill Santa Claus. We love UPS. We love the brown and gold. The big brown truck, and they bring treats for your dog. Love the UPS. Love my local driver, Matt. Matt, bring me something good today. Oh, I forgot I ordered that. What a surprise. It's like the adults' version of Christmas, UPS. But UPS' worst nightmare is that bad actor, that bad driver who doesn't bring you your package or who rifles through your package first. Oh, that's not good. This is all alleged. We don't know if this is truly the case. Desiree Ann Martinez, 32-year-old, is facing at least one count of felony theft. She was caught allegedly digging into packages. Now, Desiree, I got to go to the alleged room.
The views and opinions expressed on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show are solely those of its host and do not necessarily represent those of Cowboy State Daily's reporters, editorial staff, or ownership.
This is one of those Fridays I just want to keep myself in the Jake zone, the Jake take zone. Desiree allegedly was smart enough not to just fail to deliver a package. Sooner or later, that gets found out, right? If we don't get our package, we get on the 800 number to UPS. We wait on hold for about 5 hours, and then we say, hey, I never got my package. And if you get too many of those calls, up goes the red flag. UPS identifies a driver, and Desiree is in big trouble. Desiree was smarter than that, allegedly. She would just cut into the packages when she thought there was something good in there she wanted. And especially packages sent from the cop shop in Laramie to the evidence lab in Rawlins. Oh, that's probably going to be drugs, right? Allegedly. So Desiree cuts into these boxes. Allegedly. Accused of. And that's how she got found out. Because unlike, the average person who's supposed to take delivery of a pair, 3 pairs of socks, and we only get 2 pairs of socks, maybe we don't notice. Maybe we don't complain, or maybe it's not a big deal. But when the cops send a whole box of marijuana to the state evidence lab and say, is this really marijuana or is it oregano? When that goes missing, the fingers get pointed at the cops first, and that's what happened. What the investigation found, it wasn't anybody in the evidence locker room. It wasn't any police. It seemed to be happening somewhere at the drop-off zone where the UPS packages were left for pickup. And that's when they figured out by sending fake drugs. And Desiree was smart enough to know, allegedly, what was real and what was fake. She would allegedly cut into the boxes, take some good stuff, but leave some other stuff, and then tape it back up. And so to catch her, authorities said, well, let's put in some fake drugs, because, they didn't want to send real drugs because somebody was stealing this stuff. They put in fake drugs. Desiree cut into the box, allegedly, checked it out and said, no, this stuff's fake. Taped it back up and sent it. Didn't take anything out of it. But that's how they caught her. Facing up to 10 years, $10,000 in fines. UPS spokesperson said the UPS has no tolerance for theft. Obviously, you know how they got her eventually is when she retaped the boxes, allegedly. Her fingerprints were on the tape. Duh. Criminals isn't always smart. Criminals is usually not smart. And that's how they get caught. Now, Desiree was being pretty smart by not just taking packages. She was getting into them for what she wanted, but allegedly. Laramie Police Department officer Sarah Packle documented the following found in Desiree's house. A multicolored bong downstairs in the bathroom, box of 4 radios behind the TV in the master bedroom, a box of eyeglasses, a box containing Oculus, I don't even know what that is, a box of 10 camouflage sunglasses found on the basement couch, a box of brown straw hats in the basement closet, a white UPS box in the basement closet, a box of children's toys in the laundry room, a box of prescription lenses in the basement closet, a box of phones, a box of clothing, an Apple MacBook Air, a Beats Pro earphones, multiple phones, Apple earbuds. She was collecting quite a supply, allegedly. Martinez is scheduled for a December 3rd preliminary hearing in Rawlins Circuit Court. She could not be reached for comment. Court files indicate she's currently out of jail on $12,000 bond. But yeah, Desiree's alleged plan of opening up packages and taking stuff gets blowed up when the cops say, hey, our drugs never got to where they were supposed to go. Drugs are important, especially in the law enforcement world. Here's our own Claire McFarland with more on the story.
When drugs and evidence started vanishing from shipping boxes on their way from Rawlins to the Wyoming State Crime Lab in Cheyenne, Rawlins authorities called the Laramie Police Department to investigate. The Laramie police originally scrutinized the Rawlins PD and the Carbon County Sheriff's Office. The case soon shifted to a UPS worker in whose house they found electronics, drugs, toys, and other items, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
The Carbon County Sheriff's Office and the Rawlins PD both had boxes with drugs and evidence on their way to the Wyoming State Crime Lab, where the boxes showed up at the crime lab missing everything or nearly everything. And so they're like, oh, we got to get an outside cop here because this starts at the cop shop. So they called in Laramie, and then he's thinking their chains of custody are different, right? How can there be a common thief in law enforcement if there's different chains of custody? So then he's like, okay, where do these packages meet up? That was at the lumber store, where that's also a UPS pickup site.
32-year-old Desiree Martinez faces 1 count of felony theft and, if convicted, could spend up to 10 years in prison and have to pay $10,000 in fines.
Yeah. Unless she appears in front of Judge Susie Waters, and she'll get nothing, maybe. But I don't want to be hard on Judge Waters. She, I can just imagine, though, that phone call from the Rawlins Evidence Lab to the, Laramie cop shop saying, okay, we received your package of 10 pounds of marijuana, and here's what we've determined. And the cop shop would say, whoa, run that back. Hold on, 10 pounds of marijuana? We sent you 50 pounds of marijuana. Oh, we only have 10 here. How much of the meth did you get? No, we don't see any meth here in the box. Uh-oh. Why am I doing win? Uh-oh. Desiree. Allegedly. Sally Ann, get us on the blower, and let's talk about UW sports. I thought we would win the border war. I thought we could beat those sheep, the CSU Rams. I really did. I mean, the Cowboys don't have a very good team this year. We've been trying to identify who's going to be our quarterback, and Evan Swoboda didn't turn out. So we moved to Caden Anderson. Swoboda, by the way, who was the quarterback, not doing that great, has shown that he's a real team guy. And he went to the coach the other day. He's like, well, it sucks that I'm not playing quarterback, but if you need me anywhere, please think about it. I can play any position. And it's just, Swoboda's a big dude, 6'5", 245. He's big. So they thought, well, you can't throw a pass, but can you catch one? Yeah, I think I can. So Swoboda's been working out at tight end. And I don't know, whatever works. A quarterback turned tight end, a defense that can't tackle. None of it sounds hopeful, but I thought we could beat CSU. I really did. Sally Ann, I'm still living in the past. I thought we could have beat CSU. I know it's not the greatest Wyoming team, and I know CSU's good this year, but I thought we could win that game, the border war.
Well, I thought that we had a chance because emotion plays such a huge role in that game, and for some reason, the Pokes just weren't. I don't know. It's just so hard. It's just so hard. Well, the whole season has been hard. Let's face it. But I just think emotion plays an enormous part, especially in the border war. And I just feel like we just didn't have that. We had a horrible punt to start the game, and then things just kind of spiraled downhill after that. And Harrison Whaley didn't play, and nobody really is sure about that yet. And it was just a really, really tough night. But here's the thing. So now's another week. We have the chance to be literally the world beater of all world beaters, the spoiler of all spoilers. I mean, just think what would happen if the unthinkable happens tomorrow night in the war. Think what would happen. Boise State leaves their post at the top of the second column of the mystical, magical football playoff committee's bracket, they're out. I mean, they're out. They lose, they're out. And, Heisman Trophy hopeful, he could go for 400 against us and for some reason they would lose, but they're not going to lose if he goes for 400. But because it's not a runaway, usually at this point of the season, the Heisman race is a complete runaway. And this year, maybe it's just because of where we live, but I honestly feel like Travis Hunter, and Ashton Genty are neck and neck. And how cool is that for the West, for West football, west of the Mississippi football? That's really cool. And, if I were a Heisman voter, I'd vote for Travis Hunter because a two-way player in this day and age, an excellent two-way player in this day and age is just unheard of in Division I. And he's the real deal. So, but anyway, think of what the Cowboys could accomplish tomorrow night. I mean, it would not erase the whole season. It would not erase all the questions. It would not erase the importance of a really, really strong recruiting year, which, with these new dates, it's just so hard. I mean, signing day is like a week from next week. And so I don't know how kids are going to decide that they want to come to Wyoming if they've seen a team go, 2-10. But anyway, if we could just possibly get this win tomorrow night, it would just be, it would be, that's why they play the game. That's why the Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Snow Bowl last night.
Yeah.
I mean, weirder things have happened. I mean, this would be App State going into the Big House and beating Michigan. I mean, it would be that big. And can Wyoming do it? Well, of course they can, but will they? That's another question. But hey, I want to remind the listeners of what a great, unbelievable, cool weekend this is going to be in Laramie starting in just a couple of hours. The Cowgirls play at 11 this morning, and that's the game where all the elementary school kids in Laramie get out of school and get on buses and go to the AA and get to watch the Cowgirls. What a great way to spend your Friday from school, right? So the place is just packed with screaming little kids. That's 11 o'clock. The Pokes basketball team plays at home at 6:30 tonight. So that's a doubleheader hoops. Then tomorrow, volleyball plays at 1 and the Pokes play at 5. So you could see 4 different sports in the span of, 36 hours. I mean, how cool is that for folks in Laramie and anybody who, has the ability to be in Laramie? That's just a really, really cool weekend.
What a sports weekend. Yeah. The Cowgirls, by the way, somehow let one slip away Thursday night against Utah State on the road. They won the first 2 sets, lost the next 3. What happened? They kind of fell apart.
I don't know.
They're just waiting to do their best at home. Meanwhile, this football game tomorrow is maybe going to be the tale of 2 running backs for Wyoming. Coach Jay Sawville said, you're going to see a lot of Harrison Whaley, and we didn't see any of Whaley. He disappeared in that CSU game. Meanwhile, we're going to see a lot of Genty, and this guy is so good. Seriously, if Boise State is pointed in the direction of the end zone that's heading east, I don't know if Genty will stop before he gets to Nebraska. I mean, this guy, there's nobody on the Wyoming team that can they may have to call in the mascot, the Thunder marching band, and some cheerleaders to try to tackle this guy.
He's just so slippery. You watch him and you just think, and he's so tiny. He gets up to the line and you're thinking, okay, well, they're going to tackle him.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's 30 yards behind the defense and headed for the end zone. He's really a talent. He is really a talent, and I don't mean to diminish his talent whatsoever. And he very well could be the Heisman winner. And how cool would that be for Wyoming fans to say, that they saw a Heisman winner? I mean, that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
And so, that's really cool. And you have to, if you love football, you have to appreciate that. And you can't be like I am so often, and that is just, Wyoming. I don't care who we play, Wyoming. I mean, once in a while, you have to appreciate the opposition, and tomorrow night is certainly one of those times.
Yeah, and if your motivation to go should be, I support the Cowboys in all seasons, but I think a lot of people will be in the stands tomorrow because you get a chance to see a really good football team that's nationally ranked with a Heisman Trophy hopeful, Genty. Right. So, I mean, who wouldn't want to pay to see that? That's going to be big time.
Exactly. Right, and I do think the fans will show up. I mean the whiners on social media are one thing, but I think the fans will show up. It's the final home game of the season. It's the weather. I mean for November in Laramie, it's going to be perfect. I mean it's just absolutely going to be perfect. And it'll be a little chilly because the whole thing will be in the dark. So fans need to remember that, of course. But tailgate in the sun, game in the dark. We've done that a million times. So but it's just going to be perfect weather, and 5:00 starts, so it'll be over, by 9ish. And so I just think it'll be a great day. And if they can get to volleyball first, and if they can get to hoops today, then that's just a tremendous weekend in my view.
It's going to be great. Let's pack the war. Let's everybody get there, unless you're Boise State fan and you want to stand during the whole game right in front of Sally Ann. That's not going to work.
Oh, my goodness. Let's not have a repeat of that. That was Nebraska, and that was not very fun. And that's the other thing. Boise State fans travel really, really well. So there will be a lot of blue and orange in that stadium. And, they tailgate and they do the whole thing, and there will be a lot of Boise people there. And so, just try to be polite. Don't pull a Sally Ann, and, let them have their fun. And, if they win, they win. And if we can pull out some magic, we'll pull out some magic. So there you go.
A lot of reasons to go. In fact, that is the headline of Sally Ann Shermer's latest column. Go read it in Cowboy State Daily. UW, Boise State, of all the reasons to go, which one is going to drive you to the war tomorrow? It doesn't matter. Pick one, pick them all. Let's just go. Go Brown and Gold. Go Pokes.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sally Ann. We'll see you Monday.
You're sure welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. Sally Ann Shermer, who joins us every Monday of Friday to talk all things UW sports. And we're thinking we might have an upset cooked up for those Broncos. It's not going to be easy. That's a good football team. And Wyoming is less than a good football team. And the things we struggle with are the things Boise State does well. That's the problem. But, hey, man. College football, a lot of it is driven on emotion, and the fans can make a difference. So, let's get out there and shake it up, make it happen. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back with this day in Wyoming history, and then we'll dig into some more Cowboy State Daily news stories. We get a lot more that we need to get to. We're coming right back on the Cowboy State Daily. All right, right back at it. 40 past the hour, 20 in front of it. And it's time to get into our this day in Wyoming history. I should have some designated music for this day in Wyoming history, right? I'm still trying to develop a routine, a predictable routine. I don't know how necessary that is, but it might be. No, that's too aggressive. Okay, that's light and poppy. This day in Wyoming history. Here we go. It's November 22nd, by the way. one of two different dates given for the death of John Coulter. 1813. His true death date is not quite known, but John Coulter is known, right? He was considered the first white man to lay eyes on a lot of things, including Yellowstone. When Coulter reported of the stuff he saw in Yellowstone back in the early 1800s, folks started calling it Coulter's hell. He described the earth on fire, the earth smoking, petrified trees, and people thought, man, that sounds like Coulter's hell. But he wasn't exaggerating. John Coulter, famous trapper, guide, all-around mountain man, died on this day in history, supposedly, if you take the one date. It's up for speculation, let's just say. This day, 1958, Denver, Colorado, founded as Denver City originally, was named for Kansas territorial. What has this got to do with Wyoming? All right, we're taking that one out. Sorry. This day, 1877, Governor Thayer approved a memorandum to Congress protesting against a proposed division of the Wyoming Territory. Yeah, this had to do with the boundaries that back in the day were somewhat fluid. I don't know, I'm sure how important that is in this day in history, but maybe it was a slow history day. Fire damaged the state capitol on this day, 1889. 1892, the Burlington Northern Railroad finally reached Sheridan. And on this day in 1982, President Ronald Reagan stated his plans to deploy the MX missile from the silos of F.E. Warren Air Force Base. That must be during a standoff with the Russians, right? Wasn't Reagan all mad at Russia and Russia was mad at us? 1982, Reagan said he planned to send an MX missile from Wyoming. Boy, that would be a threat. That was back, that was before Putin. That was the other dude. Seems like every dude over there in Russia is meaner than the dude before him. Which none of those dudes that were running Russia were as mean as the dudettes that ran, the women that ran Russia way back before. They were the meanest of all. They made Putin look like a pussycat. I'm trying to think of the names of them. Who were the old, and what did they call them? They weren't czars back then. Who were the women? How do you even Google this? Mean Russian women rulers? I swear that's what I'm going to put into the Googler. Katerina, right? Yeah, Catherine the Great was one of them. Catherine the Great makes Putin look like Mickey Mouse. Catherine the Great ruled with an iron fist, I think. I don't know. I wasn't back then. But I think that was the Tsarina. That's what that would be the title. You're not a czar. You're a Tsarina. The 5 most important women who ruled Russia. Oh, there you go. Princess Olga, Sophia, there was an Elizabeth, and Catherine the Great, of course. The reigning empress of Russia from 1762 to 1796. She came into power by overthrowing the dude that was there before. Yes, she was bad news. Catherine the Great. What is a female Russian ruler called? The Empress Consort. Yeah, anyway, I digress. What was the original topic? Oh, yeah, 1982, this day, November 22nd. I'm so easily distracted on Fridays. President Ronald Reagan announced his decision, and thankfully never did, that I know of. He told, I assume the Russians, back when it was Gorbachev, right? He said, Gorbachev, I'm sending an MX missile over there, and it comes sealed with a kiss, sealed with love from Wyoming. That was in 1982, but that missile, I think, never launched, or we'd know about it. Who's Zoom? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we got to get Wendy into the Zoom room. All right, Wendy, try to join again. She's saying the link isn't working. I'm going to make the link work. Hold on, Wendy. I'm talking about Russian rulers and, yeah. Here, let's send Wendy the link. Wendy Core joins us, or is supposed to join us every Friday, 8:45. That's what I have on my list. So, yeah, good job, Wendy. Let's get her into the Zoom room, and let's see if it made me turn small. If it did, I am going to scream, Wendy. Into the
scream?
I'm small again.
I know. Mine is small, too. I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't know either. It's Friday. That's all I can blame it on.
It is Friday. Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Just to, I mean, you come in at a perfect time because we were talking about Russian rulers and Russian empresses. Remember Catherine the Great from 1762? She was a meanie.
I do not remember her personally. You know, I was a history major in college, but I didn't really pay too much attention to the Russian stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know a lot either, but I know she was like a hardliner. She made Gorbachev and Putin look like, you know, pussycats. She was tough.
They did call her Catherine the Great.
The Great. They don't call him Putin the Great. Yeah, so all this came up when I was thinking about this day in Wyoming history when then President Reagan in 1982 threatened Russia with an MX missile sent with love from Wyoming, from the Warren Air Force. He was going to fire a missile.
What? From Wyoming?
Yeah, well, we have the silos. We have the missile base. We have the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Silo Base down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was this day in history. Reagan, you know, things got so contentious. He said, I'm sending an MX missile over there if you don't watch your step. And it's coming from Wyoming, which makes it even more super powerful, I think, like to know.
See, we need to write a story about that.
Yeah.
Who is not, we haven't written a story about that. We got to get that to one of our reporters and write that because to me, that's very interesting. And I think that's relevant to today, isn't it?
I think that's what made Russia back down. They probably what are you going to do? We're sending a missile from Wyoming. Oh, wait, all right. All right.
In that case, yeah.
We'll chill out. Yeah, what's happening in your world? You got podcasts coming up with, I heard you say it, now I'm forgetting.
Okay, so the podcast tomorrow is really cool. By the way, I'm not on the big screen that's going out to everybody, and so I don't know what's happening there. But I don't know if I need to be, but it's just, there's Sally Ann. I see Sally Ann Shermer.
Oh, you're just behind. You're on delay. I'm sure. I have you fine. You're probably just rocking a little bit of a delay, but when it does come up, you'll see you, and then you'll see me tiny because I can't figure out what's going wrong. But it's okay.
All right. Well, hey, so my podcast tomorrow is so cool. Oh my gosh, we had such a good time. Her name is DeShann Schinkel, and she is the executive director of the Wyoming Senior Olympics. And Jake, we actually, Senior Olympics, I think of, you know, people in their 70s and their, no, we qualify. We qualify. If you're over 50, you can be in the Senior Olympics. And I just am so impressed with DeShann and her energy and her positivity, her passion for not just athletics, but for seniors. She's got a great history, something I didn't mention on the podcast. And we talked about it kind of before and after. She is a veteran. So she was in the armed forces for years and then took those leadership skills and all the things that she learned. She ended up going to Rawlins, back home to Rawlins, and just kind of living there. She ran the aquatics and the recreation center there for a long time, their aquatics program. She's been a coach and a student coach. And now she's taken that same drive to the Wyoming Senior Olympics. And so she and I had a fantastic time talking. And so I'm excited to share that with everybody.
It's
going to be great.
Yeah, I love when you find somebody who's like really jazzed about what they're doing, because that's all it takes is that sweat equity, that passion. You can take your cause to the next level. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And my next week's guest too, because next week, Friday, it's Thanksgiving weekend, but next week, I'm going to put a plug in for next week as well. Another really amazing Wyoming woman, Deb White from up here in Cody. She has created more programs, single-handedly kicked off more programs for Cody High School, for Cody senior citizens, and for active, for being involved in politics, for being involved in leadership, for being involved in athletics. She's done all of these things up in Cody. She's got wonderful people around her, but she is the driving force between under all of these things. So 2 fantastic Wyoming women coming up back to back on the roundup. So you are not going to want to miss either of those.
Just one of these kind of people make up for 100 Jory Parks.
Oh my gosh. Wasn't that story crazy?
I
just wanted to slap that kid.
I know. He got off so easy, in my opinion. Judge Susie Waters.
I understand the judge says, if he's in jail, he can't repay these people and these people need repaid. But $500 a month?
For 20 years, I know.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to do the trick. But
what a naughty guy.
But have you talked to Claire yet about her story on the girls who ran away and stole the police car?
Thelma and Louise meets Keystone Cops. Yeah, these girls allegedly stole the pickup truck. They get pulled over, then they steal the cop car, then they take that to steal another car, and man.
But it was so crazy because the one girl is hiding underneath all of the stuff that's in the that's in the sheriff's deputy's vehicle. And not one, but 2 safety things that stop you from stealing a car.
Oh, I didn't know there was.
Well, it's the pickup truck that they stole, the F-250, but then also they stole a sheriff's department SUV.
No, I know that, but I know you're not supposed to be able to drive those unless you know the secret. Do you know what the secret is, by the way?
I don't know the secret. And obviously those girls do, and I'm wanting to know how they found out.
Yeah. So is law enforcement. They say either it failed to work or they knew what the secret was.
They knew what to do. Yeah. So they've got to check their security systems because if 2 sheriff's department vehicles are not responding or can be bypassed, then that's problematic.
Tiana and Mandy are the Thelma and Louise of that story. Crazy story. Andrew's artwork story. How about that?
Oh my gosh. But here's what I love, Jake, and here's what I love about my job. I get to talk to our reporters, and I get to really hear there's absurdity. There's absurdity to all these things. And yes, these are serious things, not the artwork. The banana thing is a whole different thing. But like the Thelma and Louise thing, it's very serious. One of these girls stole a deputy's firearms and pointed the firearm at a person and stole their car. That's a serious thing, but it's just absurd. It's like something out of a, Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah.
So, but the banana artwork thing is absurd. And hearing Andrew tell the stories, hearing Claire get so passionate about that story, and the UPS driver that stole all these things, hearing Claire tell the story of how shout out to the Laramie investigator who figured out that figured out that it was the UPS driver that was stealing it.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. That was forensic files stuff.
Yeah. And I'm glad they found out that it wasn't one of their own, because that's the first thing you think of when the police send drug evidence to the drug lab and the drug lab doesn't get all the evidence.
Yes.
Guess who gets blamed first? But they figured it out, allegedly.
Well, what the way Claire described it is the cops called the cops on themselves.
Yeah.
The cops are like, okay, there's a problem here. We need an outside source. So the way Claire described it, and again, I don't know if you've talked to her about it, so I'm repeating if you have.
No.
Okay. So I'm going to emulate Claire here because she was so animated about it. She was so animated about
Yes,
it.
and if by the way, if you don't know Claire, she writes so right down the line, and when she describes a story, she also is like very neutral, very facts only. But when she has a tell, and when she's excited about a story, you feel it.
It is so fun when she gets excited about a story. She gets excited about weird stuff like legalese and Supreme Court filings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so glad somebody gets excited.
Right.
About it.
I know.
Yeah. But so here's Claire telling the story about the UPS driver and stuff. So in the Rollins PD, you've got the chain of evidence, right? And in the Carbon County PD, sheriff's office, you've got the chain of evidence. So you're making sure that it's secure all the way around. So the way that the investigator figured is if they're two separate chains, it would be really, really bizarre if there were two people involved here that were stealing evidence.
Yeah, it would require two bad actors working together.
So what she said is, where do those come together? And she did that when she was talking to me. Where do those come together? They come together at the lumber company, where it's also a UPS store. So a UPS drop-off facility. That's where all of this comes together. So that's what made them look at either the lumber company or the UPS driver. And they found this is great investigative work. What they found was that the UPS driver's fingerprints was on like the third layer of tape underneath the top layer where the UPS driver's fingerprints should not be. So that's how they figured out it was the UPS driver. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, that's good stuff. That is CSI kind of stuff. Desiree allegedly was smart about the way she was intercepting packages. She wouldn't just take them because you would know they were made. UPS has internal, thing so she would cut into them allegedly and take what she wanted out of them and left her fingerprints on a layer of tape that, yes, if she was handling. Oh, good stuff. Yeah. And I'm glad to know.
Just such great investigative work. And I am a true crime weirdo. I love Dateline. I love Forensic Files.
Yeah.
I love, Ron Francel's books. I love true crime. And so for me, I get all excited about stuff like this. I'm like, that's just smart. Somebody's just really smart. I don't do investigative. I never did investigative journalism. That stuff is just not my thing. But
yeah, Claire's really good at it, and it's great when our writers tell the story in their own words. Leo Wolfson's story about Senator Brasso. Did you catch Senator Brasso on the show yesterday? It was so cool.
I did not. I'm so glad you got him on the show, though.
That's
I think
big.
That's fantastic.
I mean, little old Cowboy State, little old me, this is a dude usually on Meet the Press. Yesterday he was on Meet the Rest. I mean, I was like, Senator, I don't know anything about politics. Is the majority whip get a whip? Where's your whip? Let me see it. He's like, oh, Jake.
I am so pleased. I'm so pleased that we have a Wyoming senator back in that position because I think the last one was Al Simpson. Was the last Republican
I didn't
whip.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that's fantastic that we have him back in, that we've got John Barrasso there.
Yeah.
And of course, he's very dedicated to Wyoming and he is here all the time. He's home every weekend. And I just think that just says a lot about him and his dedication to the state.
We talked about that, how well he represents Wyoming, how much he is here, and who wouldn't want to be here more than Washington. He'll be here except for next week when he makes his annual trip overseas to be with the troops for Thanksgiving, which is super cool.
That's coming up. Oh, good. I'm so glad.
And Senator Brasso as the majority whip, which I didn't know, and maybe other people don't know, but he'll be crucial in trying to get through the cabinet nominees for Trump 2. One of them includes, as Leo Wolfson points out, RFK, who could be the head of the FDA, and that would be interesting because he's been critical of some things. It would be a shakeup. Brasso said so. This would be a shakeup.
Yes. Yeah. No, the whole thing, all of Trump's picks so far have just been, I think, engineered to be shaking up.
Yeah.
To be
I mean,
shake up.
he was drain the swamp guy. Barrasso called them all bold. That's a good word. They are all bold, and he called them all fighters.
Yes.
He said, you're going to find out, the American people are going to find out what fighters they are. They're bold picks, out of the box a little bit, including the one, Kristen
Dr.
Noem.
Oz, too.
Yeah.
Dr. Oz. It's just, it seems like Hollywood is coming to Washington, D.C.
That's what I saw a liberal columnist say that. Is he building a cabinet or casting a reality show? I saw somebody write that.
There you go. That's very, very valid.
Yeah.
That's very valid.
Yeah. What else is happening in the news?
Oh my gosh, we've had so many great stories. I tell you, we have a new freelancer. His name is David Madison.
I love his stuff.
And, oh my gosh, he's just bringing us the best stories. Yesterday's story, I mean, in the headline they called it, Breaking Bad on the Crow reservation. But he tells it in such a human way. I mean, it's a human tragedy. This woman, Frederica Left Hand, she's got a doctorate. She was there to help her people. She came back. She worked at the college. She was the dean of admissions at the college in Crow Agency. And then she becomes the, kingpin or queen pin of this meth ring. And it just absolutely breaks my heart because these people are a proud people. They are a proud people. And for them to be so invaded and attacked and taken advantage of by these drugs and the cartels that push them, it's an absolutely heartbreaking story. And I understand she's really trying to be from prison. She's trying to affect a positive change. And I think that that's so great. But again, kudos to David Madison for writing that really heartfelt story.
Yeah, and the way he told it, you're right. This could have been, he could have played up the whole angle, the Breaking Bad angle, and it could have went a different direction. But with his segment with you, when he's interviewed, he did share that, like, this hurts a community, this hurts a people, the Crow people, this hurts a sacred site. There was a lot of victims in this, and drugs are bad. Great story from David, and the way he's related it to you, he's good with that.
He is. And of course, you'd mentioned Jory Parks right there, and that was another one of his stories.
Yeah.
So we're so pleased to add David to our ranks. So we've got some amazing people here. And again, we miss your voice, Jake. We miss your voice on our pages, but we're so glad you're here and that your voice is here. It's a grand thing.
I'm just busy saving my money to afford a ski pass at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort.
Right? Yeah. I'll pass on that one.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't ski anyway, but $10,000. The continental breakfast isn't worth it.
Fresh tracks and the continental breakfast. You get a Pop-Tart and first run for 10. Woo, my.
It's so funny because just before I came on your show, we were doing our morning budget meeting, our morning team Zoom. And that's what Leo said. Leo's like, you can get all of those things for like a lot less than $10,000. And Leo's a skier. He knows.
Yeah.
There's so many really interesting stories to tell. And I just love that I get to, just like you, we get to read all of these. It is our job to read all of these stories and to get to know these stories so that we can tell it in a different format, whether we're telling it on your radio show, whether we're telling it on the newscast. It's so fun to be able to relay those stories by these talented writers. And
because too often, and that people don't take the time sometimes to read top to bottom. They may read a headline in a paragraph. So we want to bring more to you, flesh it out for you. And also, I love the idea of, when you read a story, you almost always have questions like, I wonder about this part of it. So I like to speak that question out loud on the morning show. And other people text in and they're like, yeah, I thought that too. And yeah.
I love that we have this platform that you can do that and that you provide that to us. So it's great.
Let's go from Wendy Core to more Wendy Core. It's time for your top of the hour video news.
All right, I'll let the recording do the talking. Bye, Jake. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Wendy. This is Wendy's News.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, November 22nd. I'm Wendy Core, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols takes you deeper into the stories that matter and keeps up with the news, weather, and sports in your part of Wyoming. Just tune in to cowboystatedaily.com and join the conversation. Frederica Left Hand held a doctorate degree in education. She was part of an outreach program supporting Native American nursing students. Left Hand served as Dean of Admissions at Little Bighorn College on the Crow Indian Reservation. Then she fell into the clutches of a drug cartel. And amid a recent bust of a meth ring in what's now referred to as the Spear sighting case, Left Hand and 26 others were prosecuted. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that her story is just one heartbreaking tale in a larger narrative of how drugs have devastated Native communities.
There are several reasons why the story about Frederica Left Hand is tragic. One, that the community has lost her as a leader. She used to work at the college as a dean of admissions. You have the sheer number of people who received sentences, 27 in this wave alone. And then you have, on top of it, the name Spear Sighting brought into the story, which is a sacred site where they perform a sun dance.
Left Hand's rise and fall as a drug queen pin of the meth ring based in a small community just north of the Wyoming border also reveals details about the role women now play in the hierarchy of reservation crime. When drugs and evidence started vanishing from shipping boxes on their way from Rawlins to the Wyoming State Crime Lab in Cheyenne, Rawlins authorities called the Laramie Police Department to investigate. The Laramie Police originally scrutinized the Rawlins PD and the Carbon County Sheriff's Office. The case soon shifted to a UPS worker in whose house they found electronics, drugs, toys, and other items, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
The Carbon County Sheriff's Office and the Rawlins PD both had boxes with drugs and evidence on their way to the Wyoming State Crime Lab, where the boxes showed up at the crime lab missing everything or nearly everything. And so they're like, oh, we got to get an outside cop here because this starts at the cop shop. So they called in Laramie, and then he's thinking their chains of custody are different, right? How can there be a common thief in law enforcement if there's different chains of custody? So then he's like, okay, where do these packages meet up? That was at the lumber store, where that's also a UPS pickup site.
32-year-old Desiree Martinez faces one count of felony theft and, if convicted, could spend up to 10 years in prison and have to pay $10,000 in fines. Well, even if the University of Wyoming Board of Trustees won't allow concealed handguns on campus, the Wyoming legislature will probably override that decision. That's what board chairman Kermit Brown told a crowd mostly opposed to concealed carry Thursday during a meeting of trustees. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines was at the meeting.
Once again, there was a packed house, standing room only of people that came to speak to the trustees. The vast majority of people were against it. However, the president of the Board of Trustees, upon announcing that they were going to postpone the decision at least until tomorrow, he also raised what I think was a really interesting point that, guys, it doesn't matter what we end up doing because in the end, this could very well be decided by the legislature.
A bill to eliminate Wyoming's gun-free zones passed both chambers of the legislature during the 2024 session, but was vetoed by Governor Mark Gordon. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso said he believes Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could bring a fresh perspective to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration if his nomination is approved by the Senate. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated RFK to serve as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, which oversees the FDA. And Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that Barrasso, a doctor himself, is well known for the health reports he's delivered on TV stations across Wyoming for about 40 years.
RFK has got some criticism for some of his conspiracy theories that he's promoted related to vaccines and AIDS and fluoride in water, but he supported Trump's campaign after he dropped out as a presidential candidate himself this summer. And more than anything, Barrasso says it's just time to get maybe a fresh perspective when it comes to running America's health agencies and the FDA.
If confirmed by the Senate, RFK would have authority over the nation's agencies responsible for public health, government-funded health insurance plans, Medicare, and Medicaid services. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, we'll wrap up the week with some pretty decent weather across the Cowboy State today, other than a few snow showers in the far northwest corner of the state, mainly Yellowstone and around Jackson. The rest of the state will be breezy, pretty mild, a lot of 50s and lower 60s, and that'll continue into Saturday. One thing about Saturday, though, it's going to start to get windy again, especially in the south. Folks headed to the Boise State game could expect a windy period of weather down there in the Laramie area. And then we're also going to see on Saturday snow showers developing in the far west and southwest. And by Saturday night into Sunday morning, we could be looking at a little bit of snow along the Interstate 80 corridor, and that'll continue into Monday morning, along with some colder temperatures. And that's going to lead into a much more active weather pattern for Thanksgiving week across the Cowboy State. Travelers are going to want to monitor the weather this weekend and into early next week for what looks to be an active pattern across the western United States, as that big Pacific storm that has been off the west coast for the last several days is finally going to start to move inland.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Open enrollment is here. Discover a range of low-cost plans from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. Shop now to find the best option for you. Online, in town, in touch. We're right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. What's your plan?
When severe drought in 2021 made ranchers in Crook County desperate to secure hay for their cattle before winter, a Kansas man spotted an opportunity and designed a scheme that preyed on stock growers worried they wouldn't have enough cattle feed. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the scam involved hay bought in Nebraska, shipped by a company from Kansas, and caused ranchers in Wyoming and Montana to lose more than $100,000.
A guy named Jory Parks from Kansas had a new trucking company. He was going to pick up the well-priced hay in Nebraska, bring it to ranchers in Wyoming and Montana. But according to prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Billings, he really came into that whole arrangement with an intent to short these customers and to exploit the high price of hay.
Judge Susan Waters spared Parks a prison sentence of up to 20 years so he could pay restitution to his victims. Parks was given the 20 years to make $500 monthly payments against his $103,721 debt. Laramie County Sheriff's deputies arrested 2 women Wednesday after one of them managed to bypass a safety feature on a patrol vehicle and steal it. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that when deputies received word of the stolen patrol pickup, they thought they were looking for just one perpetrator.
There's this car chase and there's a blown tire and the truck comes to a stop and the driver takes off running. But they kind of do a check like, oh, the truck, oh, is anyone else inside it? The person hiding is not a large person, as I understand it. And so they missed her. The person ducked in the truck, gets out, and according to the sheriff's department's account, steals the deputy's SUV. Then she chases after somebody and shows the deputy's gun to that person in order to secure a new car.
After apprehending both suspects, Mandy Miller was booked into the Laramie County Detention Center on charges of driving under the influence of drugs, plus vehicle theft, aggravated robbery, eluding, and a host of other offenses. Tiana Quinn also has multiple charges pending. Well, skiers have been complaining about the cost of season passes for years, and this year is no different. An Epic Pass, which gives you unlimited access to more than 40 ski resorts across North America, Europe, and Australia, jumped from $909 last season to $1,107 this season. Aspen Snowmass in Colorado, one of the nation's most expensive resorts, offers a season premier pass for $3,599. and this week offered an exclusive luxury season pass for $10,000, according to Cowboy State Daily's Justin George.
Now, it's a luxury pass, and you ask, what do you get with that? Well, you get early access to the mountain, so you can get all your runs in before a lot of people come. People have been talking about the crowds up there. You get access to a lounge, you get private ski storage, you get a continental breakfast, and you get lunch reservations at Trappers, which is the restaurant at the resort.
The season pass
show with Jake. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, what do you think, Leo? Fresh Tracks worth 10G?
No. Unequivocally, no. I think we could both attest that there is not going to be a single local diehard skier in Jackson who's actually taking advantage of this.
But you get like Pop-Tarts with it.
Oh.
Or, continental breakfast. But you've seen what passes for continental breakfast at some hotels. You're like,
oh,
what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not that's, is that a main reason why you choose one over another when you're, looking for lodging? Is the continental breakfast that important to you?
I won't lie. I do factor it in occasionally, but it depends on my schedule. Like if I know I'm going to be crazy busy in the morning, I might consider it. But at the end of the day, I think it's usually not the deciding factor.
Yeah, when I'm checking in,
it's certainly not a factor in my season's pass choice. I'll say that.
Yeah, right. When I'm checking into a place and they're like, "Oh, your room is here, and the continental breakfast starts at 5:30 to 7:30," I'm thinking, you're not going to see me there. And yeah, nope. Yeah, that $10,000 luxury ski pass. I don't know.
It's so absurd because at the end of the day, what it gets you is so minimal above the everyday seasons pass or a daily lift ticket. I mean, it's just it's so ridiculous because anybody who cares if it's a fresh powder day, all the people who are diehard skiers who are really getting after it, they'll hike up themselves. If they want to get some early powder, they'll work for it rather than spend $10,000 to get it. So the whole thing is just a gimmick and it's an elitist ploy just to say, I've got this pass. I mean, that's all it is, honestly.
I mean, fresh tracks are important to some people, like crazy important, but I don't know if it's $10,000 important. We'll have to see. We had U.S. Senator John Barrasso on yesterday. I couldn't be major coup to get a guy like that. And he mentioned, as big responsibility and duty of majority whip, he would try to help push through some of Trump 2 cabinet nominees, some of which have been eyebrow raising, none more so than RFK. Your story about him potentially heading the FDA is wow. Barrasso said it'd be a shakeup. That's an understatement.
I think it's an understatement. I think you're right. Barrasso seems to support him. He's espoused some interesting views on vaccines and fluoride in water and AIDS and other topics where he's certainly taken a unconventional perspective. But I think Barrasso, rather than get kind of fixated on the specific views and every single point that RFK, every kind of opinion he has, I think Barrasso wants to just focus more on taking a new perspective, a fresh perspective to the FDA and America's health agencies. He'll be overseeing Medicaid and Medicare as well. And I think for Barrasso, it's more about just kind of getting a new outlook. These are agencies that have kind of been run by rather conventional perspectives for many years, for better or worse. I'm not going to speak on that. But at the end of the day, I think very few people would argue that the FDA is a flawless organization, even if you generally believe in most of the things they've done. There's definitely been some missteps here and there. There's beliefs that they're in cahoots or they're basically funded by the pharmaceutical industry. So I think Barrasso's coming from more of that perspective, just saying like, hey, look, let's get a new outlook here and see what happens. There might be a lot of see what happens with some of RFK's views, but I think for Barrasso, it's just like he's just saying that when Trump says drain the swamp, it's more of a reference to just kind of taking a fresh perspective of people who maybe haven't been in Washington for very long or at all, and maybe don't have that bureaucrat perspective, so to speak.
Yeah, RFK, what we're talking about is some things that have come out of his mouth and things that have come out of President-elect Trump's mouth that, are startling. He called COVID-19 vaccine the deadliest vaccine ever made. But what I think Senator Barrasso is saying is some of these picks may bring fresh eyes on old historic dinosaur agencies that probably are full of a lot of bloat. So maybe RFK can take a look at the FDA and say, the way you've been doing things, we might be able to change that. But great story, good insight on things that Senator Barrasso told us on the show yesterday about some of these cabinet picks. It'll be interesting to see how they go.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd point out that I think a lot of people maybe find refreshing about RFK is that his political views in a lot of ways are not similar to Trump's. Him and Tulsi Gabbard were kind of looked at as kind of Trump's more reaching across the aisle picks for his cabinet, if you will. Some people might disagree about that, but at the end of the day, RFK ran as an independent for president until he dropped his campaign and endorsed Trump. Tulsi Gabbard's a former Democrat herself. So I think a lot of people were kind of excited to see him, have some legitimate, bipartisanship to a certain extent in his cabinet. Former Vice President Mike Pence has already criticized RFK's possible nomination because RFK is pro-choice on abortion, and he'll be leading these health agencies. So if nothing else, it is kind of just switching things up and kind of just trying to kind of do something even prior Republican administrations haven't done.
The quote from Senator Barrasso is perfect. Shakeup. That's exactly what looks to be the intention. From national politics to state, and I want to ask you about a story you wrote and also a story Mark wrote. Both have similar themes in that the upcoming legislature may just run it back with two different bills. You wrote the one about the property tax bill that Governor Gordon vetoed. It's coming right back, almost word for word, I think. And then the eliminating gun-free zones. Mark Hines has a story about UW trying to decide their own policy. Will it matter? Legislators may run that right back at this session. What do you think's coming up here? And why? Why do you bring something right back, Leo, when the governor put the no stamp on it last time?
Well, I don't think it's something the legislature does lightly. I'll put it that way. This is not something you're going to see every year even necessarily. But what happened here was Senate File 54 was a bill that would reduce property taxes by 25% for home values up to $2 million. That would affect pretty much anybody who is a full-time resident in Wyoming. Even homes that are worth more than $2 million, you would still have the first $2 million of the value reduced.
Oh.
So this was a big deal, and the bill had bipartisan support. Representative Liz Storer from your neck of the woods, a Democrat in Jackson, even supported it. Pretty much almost every Republican supported it as well. It passed by very, very large numbers. And then the governor vetoed it. And he vetoed it after the session was complete. So it made it very difficult, nearly impossible to do anything about it. There was consideration about calling a special session just to overturn some of his vetoes. And this bill, I could tell you firsthand, was the primary inspiration for that push to try to get a special session. They couldn't get enough votes for the special session. They were about 10 votes short in both houses. And this created a lot of fodder along the campaign trail this season. A lot of people were talking about this bill specifically and how upset they were that the governor vetoed it. The governor vetoed it because he thought that he didn't like the way it was funded. He thought that it was kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul in a way. By pulling money from the general fund, he was arguing that the energy industry, which funds a significant portion of Wyoming's state government, about 50% of the general fund revenue. He was arguing the energy fund was basically subsidizing these property tax breaks while not getting any property tax breaks of their own, which is 100% accurate. However you feel about that's a different story, but that is a true statement. So he thought it was kind of socialistic and Bidenomics. And anyway, so that's what happened, but it really did nothing to dispel people's outrage about this. So they're bringing basically the same bill back back, and I think they're going to either test the governor to see if he's going to stick with that, or they're probably going to try to overturn his veto if he does it a second time. They absolutely have the numbers. They already had the numbers last year, and I think what we could see is that this bill gets passed pretty early on in the session, which gives them an actual opportunity to overturn his veto without having to call a special session.
Walk us through that process now. When a bill passes both chambers and gets to Gordon's desk and he vetoes it, is that the end game, or is there, wait a minute, there's still, we can go somewhere? What do you do then?
Yeah, it's a complicated little dynamic there. So what happens is if the governor vetoes the bill with more than 3 days, I believe it is, left in the legislative session, then the legislature has a chance to get their chance to get a second bite of the apple on the veto and see if they can overturn it. They need a 2/3 vote to be able to overturn a veto in both chambers. And it's worth noting that this bill passed with a much larger than 2/3 majority last year or earlier this year. So there's no reason to think that's going to change with the legislature actually moving to the right from where it was earlier this year. So they have that. Now, if the governor, for some reason, if the bill takes a while to get to the governor, if it's the last 3 days of the legislature, and he vetoes the bill in the last 3 days, or I should say, if they get the bill to him in the last 3 days of the legislature, he has up until 15 days after the legislature adjourns to take any action on it. And that's kind of what happened with this bill last year. So that creates a situation where they would have to call a special session and get everyone to go back down into Cheyenne.
Yeah.
It's a big pain in the neck, to say the least. That's kind of the biggest reason why it didn't happen last year. But I don't think they're going to let that option play out that way. I think they're going to get this bill to his desk good and early, so there's no confusion about what happens next.
Yeah, I could just see Governor Gordon searching for his veto pen while everybody makes the 7-hour drive from Cheyenne back to where they're from, and he's like, I can't find my pen. Oh, here it is. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And it's yet to be seen if the governor would veto it a second time. I think he's had a couple press conferences since the election, and in both press conferences, he really stressed that he really wants to work with the legislature and have cooperation and try to do what's best for Wyoming. So it would be a strong statement on his part to veto a bill that passed with a large majority 2 times in a row. But then at the same time, it's a strong statement for the legislature to just basically kind of disregard the things that his concerns that he had with the bill and just say, nope, this is the way we want it. We're going to do it this way, and you can take it or leave it. That's a strong statement too. So it's going to be kind of the will, whose will is going to win out.
Leo, I feel the migraine coming on from talking about too much politics. So we're going to have to lighten it.
I'm sorry.
We're going to lighten. No. We're going to lighten it up with one more story from you before we let you go. And that's the wandering cows that the state wants Crook County Sheriff to write a trespass ticket to. And the sheriff said cattle just leaking onto state land. It's like Hatfield and McCoy's. What's going on here? This is a fence out state. If cows wander into your property, you got to get them out of there. What's going on with this story?
That's right. It is a fence out state. For people listening or watching at home, exactly what that means is if you don't like the status of something kind of going on to your property in Wyoming, it's your responsibility to build a fence. However, the state of Wyoming thinks they're above that. And that's what they're asserting in this case that's going on in Sundance in northeast Wyoming. There's a piece of state land that they purchased a few years ago that they're leasing out to a local rancher there. And it's a very contentious situation where there's a neighboring resident who used to lease this land when it was private land, and they have cows too. And these cows of theirs are drifting onto the state land, and the state leasee is not happy about that for legitimate reasons. It's a legitimate thing to complain about. For one, the cows that are not supposed to eat the grass. It's a very limited quantity of grass. This is kind of a high elevation canyon terrain. So there's that. And furthermore, it's a pain in the neck to try to separate the cows out when they become all tangled up and jumbled together. So it's just kind of a mess. But in some ways, the state leasee is just as a victim as anybody else because he's just leasing this land from the state, and the state is refusing to pay for fencing that he would like, and everyone seems to would like to kind of alleviate the situation. And the state says, we're above this law, this fence out law, because the law doesn't specifically mention the state. It mentions more individual owners and things like that. And it's interesting interpretation, to say the least. I don't know what I could say about that. But you feel for the people out there, because it's creating a lot of havoc. There was threats of lawsuits thrown around from both sides. I spoke to one of the leasees, Earl Williams of Antlers Angus, and Williams was saying that he just wants to be able to ranch and be left alone. He doesn't want to be involved with this like state level dispute. And then you have the state encouraging the local sheriff, Jeff Hodge, Crook County Sheriff Jeff Hodge, to issue tickets, trespassing tickets against these errant cows. And the Hodge says, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not the right thing to do. That's not the solution for this problem. So it's a huge mess. It seems like tempers have cooled, but there's no reason to think that this won't pop back up again in the near future.
I mean, fencing, if that's an option, is costly. Estimated $350,000 at least. Next year, that'll be enough to buy you 2 ski passes to Jackson Hole Mountain Resort when they raise the prices. But the state's argument that we're not specifically mentioned in the whole fence out thing. I'm like, but
I don't know how you could say that even with a straight face. It's incredible to me that when people complain about bureaucracy, I think this is probably one of your best examples I could think of. It does sound like the parties are slowly moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, Earl Williams has had to repair fence or put up new fence out of his own pocket, even though he's a leasee on this parcel. He's a renter, and he's had to pay for fences out of his own pocket. And then they're having conversations with the Forest Service, which is the land that the other gentleman involved with this drama is renting from. They're talking about possibly putting up some fences too. So things are maybe moving where they should be, but it seems like it is a lot of headache for what's really going on.
Yeah, and I'm glad we had you on, because I didn't get that nuance of the 2 different neighboring ranches. I thought it was just this new state-owned land, and they didn't want cows coming and pooping on it. They have a lease agreement with one rancher, and then another rancher is eating that grass that's paid for by. So I see why now. Oh, we got to fix this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a simplified explanation of it. It's a very complicated situation, because then the private landowner also owns his own land to the west, and there's a few other people involved, and there's a Forest Service road that splits everybody up. It's crazy, but I think it's something that's not just limited to Sundance in this individual situation. There was an agricultural committee meeting at the legislature last month where multiple people were saying they had experienced similar things in Douglas and in Park County. And Karen Bud Phelan, who's a noted livestock and public lands attorney based in Cheyenne, said, "Yeah, this is an epidemic. This is occurring on a large scale basis."
All right, Leo, I really appreciate your time, man. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Jake.
Okay, Leo Wilson, Cowboy State Daily politics reporter, and talking a little bit about ranching as well, and whether our state legislature has 2 bills that were vetoed last time around, may bring those straight back to Governor Gordon for various reasons, and see if he dares veto them again. We have that story. And Leo also had the story about Senator John Barrasso, who plays the role of majority whip. It'll be his job to help usher in the new cabinet for Trump, too, which includes the controversial pick to head the FDA, RFK Jr. That will be an interesting one, considering some of the quotes that have come from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah, a lot of great stories from Leo, a lot of great stories from our writers this morning that we're getting to. Let's take this weather break, and I'll come back and wrap up some more things that happened today on the Cowboy State Daily, right after we hear more from our own weather guy, Don.
We'll wrap up the week with some pretty decent weather across the Cowboy. Welcome to Friday, TGIF. It's November 22nd, 2024. This podcast brought to you by Converse County Tourism. Douglas and Glen Rock, Wyoming are bustling with action this holiday season. Plan your excursion, including fun activities, beautiful downtowns, and historic treasures. Learn more at conversecountytourism.com. Well, we've got a lot of great cloud and sunset photos to show you here in a moment, like that one right there. As we take a look at what's coming, we're going to have basically today a repeat of yesterday. And for many of you, it was a pretty decent day. And today into Saturday, out on the plains, basically and along the Front Range areas, it's going to be another couple of nice November days. High clouds, sun, a bit of a breeze, but above average temperatures. But the stormy weather continues for California, Washington, Oregon, up into British Columbia as that storm just kind of pirouettes its way along the west coast, spinning around and wobbling for another day or two. However, a little bit of that strong jet stream energy, as we've been showing you this week, does get pushed out. Kind of the first push of energy and moisture comes off the coast and inland. So there's going to be a little bit of weather, not a lot, Sunday into Monday, especially along the I-70 and I-80 corridors of Wyoming and Colorado with just a little bit of winter weather. So folks, if you're traveling in the late Saturday night, Sunday, early Monday morning time frame, there's going to be a little bit of weather, especially over near the mountains, not a lot out on the plains. Then a bigger piece of the Pacific storm comes through the region in the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, at least for the beginning of the Thanksgiving weekend, the big Thanksgiving travel period. We still have some murky details on what happens after Thanksgiving, but I think we've got a little bit of weather to contend with for travelers Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll show you that. Cold Turkey Day. Cold air is going to come in out of Canada, and this Thanksgiving Day across the west, whether it's the Rockies, the Plains, or all the way to the west coast, it's going to be pretty chilly. Some awesome photos coming in from some lenticular clouds and some cirrus clouds and a lot of turbulence, as you can see up there high above in the wave action. And then what we have here is a movie of the animation of iridescent cirrocumulus clouds causing that rainbow effect that you sometimes get in those situations. And another great shot of lenticulars there out of Cheyenne. And then a lot of folks in Cheyenne, a lot of folks along the Front Range of Colorado, and anybody that lives east of the mountains, from Canada to Montana to Wyoming to Colorado to New Mexico and all points in between, you just get a lot of lenticulars this time of year as the strong jet stream winds aloft develop. There's another good shot from the Bighorn Mountains, and then beautiful sunset and sunrises will continue, and I think we've got another day or two of this all across the region. So get out and enjoy and keep your camera and your phone handy for shots like that. So this is what we talked about. All across the west, from Montana to New Mexico, it's lenticular cloud season. Speaking of clouds, the satellite loop this morning showing a double-barreled structure. We've got actually two low centers with this mature system that's just off the Pacific Northwest coast. It's still there. It's been there for the last several days. So here's the next big plume of moisture coming in and crashing the west coast while the high pressure hangs on. And there's your wave clouds. You can see them east of the mountains right there. We're going to continue to have this low kind of stalled out there for a little bit longer. And we see that pipeline of moisture getting fed right into the system there. So the 500 millibar chart shows that double-barreled system really elongating, getting wrapped around that high up there in the Aleutians. The deep storm in the northeast now, slowly moving on out. And there's our next couple of days of nice weather right there. The satellite image this morning really showing the water vapor imagery, showing that pipeline of moisture feeding into that storm. So that's why precipitation amounts are so impressive along the coast right there as it pushes inland. But the trajectory of the moisture, at least initially, is to curve it up north along the coast and then back into the low here, just left east of the Cascades with high-level moisture as the low-level moisture is taken away. By Sunday morning, we start to see the low kind of fracture and get pushed off. Here's the first little wave with it. It drags along those moist, energetic jet stream winds right here, and that's where we're going to get a little bit of weather. Streaking from California along basically Interstate 80 like this. Again, it's not going to be a lot, but we have showed you this over the last couple of days. There's going to be a little streak of moisture right here. So if you're going to be traveling Saturday night, Sunday into Monday morning, there's going to be a little bit of weather here. Northern Colorado, far southern Wyoming, again, nothing to write home about. This is what you want to write home about up here. The overrunning moisture, that pipeline of moisture, the trajectory of the deep moisture hitting the cold air ends up in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And for you folks in far northern Montana and northern North Dakota, you're going to get maybe a bit more snow here than this is showing. You're right on the edge. But there's going to be significant snow again in those areas that picked up significant snow earlier in the week. But you can see the brighter colors really hanging up along and then west of the mountain ranges. That's where the best moisture is going to be initially. So this is the first salvo of moisture and energy coming out in that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday time frame. But a bigger piece, the bigger, more energetic and moist piece of the Pacific storm, what's left of it, is going to come through late Tuesday and into Wednesday. It doesn't look like much, and it will not blow up into a big, massive storm, but it's going to bring a pocket of cold, moist Pacific air into the Rockies and the plains. So as we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday through Wednesday evening, the central Rockies will have some snow, and the door is open to Canada. So colder air is going to come in along and beside this system. So if you're going to be traveling, the Sunday, Monday system isn't going to be a lot, but we'll have to watch it. Most of its impacts, though, are going to be Sunday. Monday, if you're traveling, I think you're going to be kind of in between systems, and we'll start to maybe be able to have a little bit of a break in the weather. Although traveling in the Pacific Northwest and further west Monday, you're going to have some weather. As we get into the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame, we're going to have some roads and highways that are going to be icy. This is for the 72-hour period of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So from Tuesday morning through Thanksgiving morning, this next plume of moisture comes out, and we see along the Wasatch into the western mountains and valleys of Wyoming, into the central areas of Colorado, far southern areas of Wyoming, maybe then a little bit out into the plains, more out into the plains here. This is that larger piece of energy and moisture coming through. So more moisture for California and into the interior west. So this particular area right here, basically this area with the exception of maybe this little gap right here, there's going to be some winter driving concerns. Again, it's not going to blow up into a big system, but if you're planning travel, hitting the roads Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday morning, the green, the blues, the yellows, the oranges is where you're going to see some more significant moisture. So parts of Colorado, parts of Utah, Wyoming, maybe out into the plains here along Interstate 70. The Intermountain West and the adjacent plains, enough to be a headache. Let's put it that way. Not a big system, but enough to be a headache. By Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, into Friday, this system will move off to the east and there'll be a little bit of a break, but it will be cold. These are the temperature anomalies mid to late afternoon on Thanksgiving Day. So you can see all across the region, it's going to be a cold Thanksgiving across the West. We'll have more for you Monday. Have yourself a great weekend.
We're back.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Don Day weather forecast and Cowboy State Daily. You can find it there, including the long-form podcast. This story from Cowboy State Daily today, Cheyenne Frontier Days, says this Cowboy Channel purchase could be good for rodeo. Teton Ridge is a media company based in Fort Worth. They're heavy-duty company with ties to mainstream TV channels like Fox, ESPN, etc. They have recently announced a purchase of the Cowboy Channel. A lot of folks know what the Cowboy Channel is, Cowboy Channel and the Cowgirl Channel. This acquisition is designed to put rodeo more to the forefront in mainstream programming, and it could be a pretty good deal. Tom Herzig, CEO of Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy of them all, the 10-day rodeo in Cheyenne, was interviewed by our own Justin George, and he likes this idea. He likes the purchase and the announcement. He said the addition of the channels from Rural Media Group makes Teton Ridge the largest rights holders of Western sports programming. Rural Media Group is the group that owned Cowboy Channel and the Cowgirl Channel. They sold to Teton Ridge. Teton Ridge now the biggest thing going in not just rodeo, but Western programming. It includes mostly rodeo. Teton Ridge has distribution agreements already in place with Fox, FS1, FS2, and other big players. So you could assume Cowboy Channel already has distribution agreements with Dish, DirecTV, Comcast, etc. So this should just put rodeo more high profile in on your TV screen or your smart screen. It sounds like it's a good deal for rodeo. Justin George with the story in the Cowboy State Daily today. What's good for rodeo is good for America, right? I've never heard Trump speak about rodeo. It would be a bit outside of his sweet spot, I think, being a big city businessman, but I'm sure he can get behind rodeo because it's just so American. Make America rodeo again. That should be the new hat. Yeah, we covered these stories and many more today. We'll do a recap after this break. I want to let's, speaking of rodeo, let's do the Western Ag Network Rodeo Show.
Hi, and welcome to the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network. Thought we'd take a break today from the standings because I had a chance to talk to 8-time world champion, Pro Rodeo Hall of Famer, and a man you'll see on the Cowboy Channel covering the National Finals Rodeo, the legendary Donnie Gay. And today I asked him what he loved most about the rodeo business. His answer when we come back.
Ranchers, it's bull-bine time, and Redland Angus is your headquarters for range cow genetics. Saturday, November 23rd, 176 come-in 2-year-old range bulls and 80 range-raised bred heifers right out of the Redland herd sale at Buffalo Livestock Auction, Buffalo, Wyoming. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Northern Livestock Video. The more efficient a cow herd is at converting roughage, the greater the potential for reducing input costs and increasing profitability. For more sale day information, find them on Facebook at Redland Black Angus Ranch.
On a cattle ranch, calves aren't only raised by their mother. They're raised by a community of farmers, ranchers, and veterinarians, committed to giving them the healthiest, most comfortable life possible. Because for cattle farmers, ranchers, and the moms of those baby calves, animal welfare is the top priority. Together, we bring more beef. It's what's for dinner. Funded by beef farmers and ranchers.
You had the best career anybody in history of bull riding has had, and just tell me what you loved the most about the rodeo life when you were living it.
That's a good question, and I've thought about it, and there's a number of answers to that question, but I loved everything about it. I mean, the travel, before I started flying my own airplane, getting on the airlines and working Costa Mesa, California in the afternoon and flying back to Dallas and working Mesquite, Texas that night. There were no limits on how many rodeos you could go to. And, I thought, every day I'm not at a rodeo is the day that I wasn't going to win something. So, that was the only cinch that I knew. If you didn't get on, you weren't going to win. So, past that, I thought I had a chance.
You will see the legendary Donnie Gay on the telecast of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo coming up in just a couple of weeks. Download the Rodeo Roadshow podcast wherever and however you get your podcasts. On the Rodeo Roadshow, I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
The studio. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jay continues.
Let's get back to it. 10 in front of the hour as we wrap up the day, the morning, and wrap up the week on this Friday. One last story. We did touch on this. We've been talking about it all morning, but flesh it out a little bit for you. This is the story about Jackson Hole Mountain Resort and their luxury ski pass. This is not the regular ski pass, by the way, to be fair. This is the fancy pants ski pass. I didn't know there was such a thing, and I think this is the first year they've done it. But this is a ski pass normally going to cost you well in excess of $1,000. I don't know what the season ski pass at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort is, but it's up there, but still within reach of regular people. But this new luxury pass is something on a whole nother level. The story from Justin George begins with the headline, "Skiers shocked by $10,000 luxury Jackson Hole special access pass." Jackson Hole Mountain Resort offering this exclusive luxury pass for $10,000, according to online ski magazine Snowbrains. A dozen years ago, season pass at the resort cost less than $1,000, but prices have skyrocketed in Teton County for everything. Called the Solitude Station Access Pass, this special privilege pass provides skiers with early access to the mountain, so you can get your runs in first. And for anyone who knows about, the ski crowd, those ski bums, people who take their skiing seriously, fresh tracks are crucially important. Everybody wants to be on the hill first. You don't want to go in some tracked out run that everybody's been skiing on. You want that fresh powder. You want to be first up on that first. And unless you're a member of Ski Patrol who do some early morning avalanche mitigation, they're the first ones up there, but you can be the next first one up there, the first paying customer on the hill. If you just get to the resort super early and get on that first tram, or if you want to pay for the privilege with the Solitude Station Access Pass. Special privilege gets you early access on the mountain, private ski storage, a continental breakfast, lounge access. In other words, you get sort of the Delta United Airlines preferred lounge, so you don't have to wait out for your plane with the rest of the riffraff. You get your special lounge access and preferential lunch reservations at Trappers, the resort restaurant. All this for a cool $10,000. Scott Williams, former Jackson firefighter, interviewed in the article by Justin George, said, "The first time I saw this, I thought, you're kidding. Someone made this up. It's almost like an Onion article, like a satirical article, but it isn't. It's for real. It's true." And it is the story by Justin George. This, I'm trying to find, the only other premier pass you could find that would be in the neighborhood. Season pass at Grand Targhee, let's say, for instance. Grand Targhee is in the Jackson Hole area, just over the Tetons on the other side. That'll run you about $1,774, just by comparison. Aspen Snowmass in Colorado, one of the nation's most expensive resorts, offers a season premier pass for some $3,600. But nobody is in the five-figure range, $10,000 luxury premier ski pass at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. It's not something you'll find on the website. If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it kind of thing. This is not advertised on the website. You have to know. If you know, you know, if you're one of those people. But I'd be interested to see how many of these they actually sell. When interviewing some of the people in Teton County in the ski industry, I think Justin George found people thought, we're not surprised. Skinny Skis co-owner Scott O'Brien said, "It seems pricey to me. It's the first I've heard of it, but it's not that much of a surprise considering our business." And for some people, co-owner Skinny Skis said, Scott O'Brien, he said, for some people, $10,000 might not seem like a lot. Yeah, for some people in Teton County who take skiing seriously, it might not. When asked folks outside of Jackson Hole, when Justin George talked, for instance, to Fast House Ski and Bike in Laramie, he talked to Patrick Coffey, the manager there, and he said, boy, if Solitude Station Access Season Pass was going to work anywhere, it's going to work there in Jackson. He said if it was our local hill, yeah, that'd be a whole different story. Snowy Range ski area, ski pass there is $450. That's all. About 5% of what the Jackson Hole Pass is. But, you don't get breakfast for that. Justin George talking to our own Wendy Core about this story. Here is Justin.
Well, skiers have been complaining about the cost of season passes for years, and this year is no different. An Epic Pass, which gives you unlimited access to more than 40 ski resorts across North America, Europe, and Australia, jumped from $909 last season to $1,107 this season. Aspen Snowmass in Colorado, one of the nation's most expensive resorts, offers a season Premier Pass for $3,599. And then there's Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, which this week offered an exclusive luxury season pass for $10,000, according to Cowboy State Daily's Justin George.
Now, it's a luxury pass, and you ask, what do you get with that? Well, you get early access to the mountain, so you can get all your runs in before a lot of people come. People have been talking about the crowds up there. You get access to a lounge. You get private ski storage. You get a continental breakfast, and you get lunch reservations at Trappers, which is the restaurant at the resort.
The season pass for Snowy Range ski area just down the road from Jackson Hole Mountain Resort is $449 for adults. That's less than 5% of the Jackson Hole Pass. But again, the Snowy Range Pass doesn't come with a continental breakfast.
Yeah. I can think the first guy in line to buy that pass would be Justin's son. 10 grand's nothing to ski. Justin's son is the guy who plunked down $6.2 million for an art piece entitled Comedian. The laughs on Justin. It's just a banana duct taped to the wall. Yeah, we had that story for you in the Cowboy State Daily. Real life Breaking Bad episode plays out after a college dean is busted as the queen pin of a Mexican drug cartel on the Crow Reservation. The diligent UPS worker in Rawlins caught delivering packages to herself. RFK once said the COVID shot was the deadliest vaccine ever made. Barrasso believes Trump's pick for FDA head will shake things up. I would say so. The man who scammed drought-desperate Wyoming ranchers on bogus hay deliveries gets a slap on the wrist, no jail time, 5 years probation. And a woman accused of stealing a car is pulled over, then steals the cop's car, then steals another car. Thelma and Louise. Holy cow. We had all these stories this morning, the Cowboy State Daily. Go read on them. Find out more. For now, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.
The views and opinions expressed on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show are solely those of its host and do not necessarily represent those of Cowboy State Daily's reporters, editors,